In the sprawling forge complexes of Mars and countless other Mechanicus worlds, where the rhythmic hammering of manufactorums mingles with the electronic hymns of binary cant, march the Skitarii, the tech guard of the Adeptus Mechanicus. These cybernetically enhanced warriors represent the militant arm of humanity's most technologically advanced faction, their augmented forms serving as both sword and shield for the sacred knowledge hoarded within the Forge world's vaults. The origins of the Skitarii stretch back to the earliest days of the Adeptus Mechanicus itself, emerging from the harsh necessities of Mars during the Age of Strife. When Terra's ancient colony world found itself isolated by warp storms and consumed by civil war, the tech clans that would eventually unite under the Cult Mechanicus required military forces capable of protecting their domains and prosecuting their wars for resources and knowledge. Unlike the baseline human armies that fought across Terra during the same dark period, Mars developed warrior servants whose flesh had been systematically replaced with mechanical components designed for warfare. These early tech guard forces proved their worth during the brutal conflicts that raged across the Red Planet's surface. The Skitarii's enhanced reflexes, augmented strength, and integrated weapon systems allowed them to dominate battlefields where unaugmented humans would have perished. Their loyalty was ensured not merely through indoctrination, but through the physical integration of control mechanisms that bound their will to their tech priest masters. This symbiotic relationship between the Mechanicus priesthood and their military servants established patterns that would persist for millennia to come. The formal establishment of the Skitarii as the Adeptus Mechanicus's primary military force occurred during the negotiations that led to the Treaty of Mars. When the Emperor of Mankind arrived at the Red Planet during the Great Crusade's early stages, he encountered not a conquered world, but a technological powerhouse, whose cooperation would prove essential to his grand design. The Mechanicus possessed the industrial capacity and technical knowledge necessary to equip the vast armies required for galactic conquest, while the Emperor offered protection and the promise of shared technological discoveries. The sacred pact forged between the Emperor, recognized by the Mechanicus as the Omnissiah, the machine god's avatar in flesh, and the tech priests of Mars fundamentally shaped the Skitarii's role within the broader imperial war machine. This agreement established the Mechanicus as a semi-autonomous organization within the Imperium, maintaining its own military forces, territories, and internal governance while contributing to the imperial war effort. The Skitarii thus became both protectors of Mechanicus interests and servants of imperial expansion, their dual loyalty encoded into their very beings through sacred programming. Under this arrangement, Skitarii forces would accompany imperial expeditions across the galaxy, providing specialized military support while simultaneously searching for standard template constructs, archaeotech, and other technological artifacts. Their presence on campaigns served multiple purposes. They offered technical expertise that standard Imperial Guard regiments lacked. They could interface directly with recovered technology, and they ensured that any significant technological discoveries would be properly evaluated by Mechanicus personnel rather than potentially damaged by ignorant handling. The fundamental differences between Skitarii and conventional Imperial Guard forces extend far beyond mere equipment variations. Where Guard regiments recruit from planetary populations and rely primarily on standardized training and equipment, Skitarii are manufactured as much as they are trained. The process begins with suitable candidates, typically drawn from Forge world populations or acquired through various arrangements with Imperial worlds, who undergo extensive surgical modification that transforms them into something between human and machine. These augmentations follow sacred patterns established by the Mechanicus over millennia of warfare and technological development. Skitarii Rangers, the Mechanicus's long-range specialists, receive enhanced optical systems that allow them to identify targets at extreme distances, their eyes replaced with sophisticated targeting arrays that can penetrate smoke, darkness, and electromagnetic interference. Their limbs are reinforced with synthetic muscle fibers and stabilization systems that eliminate the tremor and fatigue that plague unaugmented marksmen during extended engagements. Skitarii Vanguard, designed for close-quarters combat and technological warfare, undergo different but equally extensive modifications. Their respiratory systems are replaced with filtration units capable of processing toxic atmospheres, while their nervous systems are hardened against electromagnetic pulses and other technological warfare methods. Radiation detectors and environmental sensors are integrated directly into their modified bodies, allowing them to operate in conditions that would prove lethal to baseline humans. The most significant distinction lies in the Skitarii's relationship with technology itself. While Imperial Guard soldiers operate their equipment as external tools, Skitarii interface directly with their weapons and vehicles through neural links and data ports surgically implanted throughout their bodies. A Skitarii Ranger's galvanic rifle becomes an extension of their targeting system, its machine spirit communing directly with the warrior's augmented consciousness to calculate trajectory, wind compensation, and target prioritization. This symbiosis allows for accuracy and response times impossible for unaugmented soldiers to achieve. Vehicle crews among the Skitarii exemplify this technological integration most clearly. The pilot of a Scorpius Junirider doesn't simply drive the vehicle, they become temporarily merged with its machine spirit, their consciousness expanding to encompass the transport's sensor arrays, weapon systems, and propulsion mechanisms. This neural linking allows for maneuvers and tactical responses that would require multiple crew members in conventional Imperial vehicles, while simultaneously providing the vehicle's machine spirit with the tactical awareness and decision-making capability it requires to function optimally. The hierarchical structure governing Skitarii forces reflects the broader organizational principles of the Adeptus Mechanicus, where authority flows downward from the highest-ranking tech priests through increasingly specialized subordinates. At the apex of this command structure stand the Tech Dominus and other senior Mechanicus adepts, whose extensive augmentations and decades of study have elevated them far beyond their original human forms. These individuals possess the knowledge and authority necessary to direct large-scale military operations, while simultaneously managing the complex logistics of maintaining and upgrading their Skitarii forces. Beneath these senior commanders operate various grades of tech priests, each responsible for specific aspects of Skitarii operations. Tech priests Dominus serve as field commanders, their bodies extensively modified for battlefield leadership and tactical coordination. Multiple limbs allow them to interface with communication systems, tactical displays, and weapon controls simultaneously, while their enhanced cognitive capacity processes battlefield information at superhuman speeds. Their presence on the battlefield provides Skitarii forces with real-time tactical adjustment and technical support that conventional Imperial commanders cannot match. The Skitarii themselves occupy the lower tiers of this hierarchy, their extensive augmentations paradoxically reducing their autonomy even as they enhance their combat effectiveness. Skitarii Alpha units serve as squad leaders, retaining enough independent thought to make tactical decisions while remaining absolutely loyal to their tech priest superiors. These individuals often display the scars of their former humanity most clearly, their faces bearing the distinctive red robes and augmetic modifications that mark their service, while their eyes still hold traces of individual personality. Standard Skitarii warriors exist in a state of controlled consciousness that balances tactical effectiveness with absolute obedience. Their augmented minds process battlefield information with mechanical precision, identifying targets, calculating firing solutions, and executing maneuvers with clockwork reliability. Yet this enhanced capability comes at the cost of creative thinking and independent action, qualities that the Mechanicus views as dangerous variables in military operations. This command structure extends beyond individual battles to encompass the broader strategic goals of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Skitarii deployments are coordinated with Mechanicus explorator fleets, Forge world production schedules, and the complex web of treaties and obligations that bind the Mechanicus to the broader Imperium. A Skitarii force dispatched to support an Imperial Guard campaign might simultaneously be tasked with recovering specific technological artifacts, establishing supply lines for Mechanicus operations, or eliminating threats to nearby Forge world installations. The integration of Skitarii forces with Mechanicus orthodoxy extends to their spiritual and philosophical outlook, as well as their tactical operations. Every Skitarii warrior has been indoctrinated with the fundamental tenets of the Cult Mechanicus, the weakness of flesh, the strength of the machine, and the sacred nature of knowledge. This indoctrination shapes their behavior both on and off the battlefield, creating soldiers who view their cybernetic modifications not as disfigurement, but as steps toward the perfection promised by the Omnissiah. The daily routines of Skitarii forces reflect this philosophical foundation. Maintenance periods involve not merely cleaning weapons and checking equipment, but performing ritual observances that honor the machine spirits inhabiting their gear. Binary hymns accompany equipment inspections, while sacred oils and incense are applied according to patterns established by millennia of Mechanicus tradition. These practices serve practical purposes. Proper maintenance ensures equipment reliability, while simultaneously reinforcing the spiritual bonds that tie Skitarii warriors to their technological tools. Combat doctrine among Skitarii forces emphasizes the superiority of coordinated technological warfare over the crude tactics employed by many Imperial Guard regiments. Where Guard forces might rely on massed infantry charges or artillery bombardments, Skitarii operations typically feature precise application of specialized equipment designed for specific battlefield roles. Electromagnetic weapons disable enemy technology, while rad weapons contaminate areas with lethal radiation that Skitarii forces can traverse safely due to their augmented physiology. The relationship between Skitarii forces and the Forge worlds that create and maintain them represents one of the most complex aspects of Mechanicus military organization. Each major Forge world maintains its own Skitarii legions, equipped according to local production capabilities and modified to reflect regional variations in Mechanicus doctrine. Mars itself fields the most extensive and well-equipped Skitarii forces, their gear representing the pinnacle of Mechanicus military technology, while smaller Forge worlds might specialize in particular types of warfare or equipment. These regional variations create Skitarii forces with distinctly different capabilities and tactical doctrines. The Forge world of Metallica produces Skitarii renowned for their expertise in void warfare and boarding actions, their augmentations optimized for combat in zero-gravity and confined spaces. Rise's Skitarii specialize in plasma weaponry and high-energy combat systems, their bodies modified to withstand the radiation and heat generated by their preferred armaments. Such specialization allows the Mechanicus to deploy forces optimized for specific operational requirements while maintaining the technological superiority that defines their military doctrine. The transformation from baseline human to Skitarii warrior begins with the fundamental recognition that organic flesh represents an inherent limitation, a philosophical cornerstone that drives every aspect of the augmentation process. This doctrine, encoded within the most sacred texts of the Cult Mechanicus, declares that biological tissue is prone to fatigue, disease, fear, and ultimately death, while the blessed machine offers strength, endurance, and the promise of immortality through technological transcendence. For the Skitarii, this philosophy becomes literal reality as their bodies undergo systematic replacement with cybernetic components designed to eliminate human weakness. The initial selection process for potential Skitarii candidates reflects the Mechanicus's pragmatic approach to human resources. Forge worlds maintain extensive population monitoring systems that identify individuals possessing the physical and mental characteristics necessary for successful augmentation. Candidates typically display above-average reflexes, spatial reasoning abilities, and most importantly, psychological profiles indicating compatibility with extensive cybernetic modification. Many come from the technical castes already serving Forge world operations, menial workers, junior technicians, or the offspring of existing Mechanicus personnel who demonstrate aptitude for military service. Physical compatibility represents only the beginning of the selection criteria. The Mechanicus evaluates each candidate's genetic markers for rejection syndromes, their neurological patterns for integration potential with cybernetic implants, and their psychological resilience for the traumatic transformation ahead. Those who fail these assessments often find themselves redirected toward other forms of Mechanicus service, as servitors, menial laborers, or raw material for biological components required in various manufacturing processes. Accepted candidates undergo preliminary conditioning that begins their separation from baseline humanity even before surgical modification commences. This phase involves intensive indoctrination in Mechanicus doctrine, teaching them to view their organic bodies as temporary vessels awaiting improvement rather than permanent forms deserving preservation. Binary Kant lessons replace conventional language instruction, while meditation exercises focus on machine spirits rather than human emotions or relationships. The candidates learn to suppress pain responses, emotional attachments, and individual desires that might interfere with their future military service. The first augmentation cycle typically begins with neural interface installation, a procedure that establishes the fundamental connection between the candidate's consciousness and the machine systems they will eventually control. Tech priests performing these operations follow ritual patterns established over millennia, their movements accompanied by specific techno-liturgies that invoke the Omnissiah's blessing upon both surgeon and patient. The surgical bay resonates with binary hymns as incense containing sacred oils fills the air, creating an atmosphere that blends medical precision with religious devotion. Neural interface implants require precise placement within the candidate's brain tissue, establishing connection points that will eventually link to targeting systems, communication networks, and weapon controls. The procedure involves drilling through the skull at carefully calculated points, then inserting fiber optic cables and microelectrodes that interface directly with specific neural pathways. Each connection point must be calibrated to the individual's unique neurological patterns, a process requiring both advanced technical knowledge and the ritual observances that ensure machine-spirit cooperation. Recovery from neural interface installation marks the candidate's first experience of technological consciousness. The newly implanted systems create sensory experiences unlike anything possible for unaugmented humans, direct data feeds that bypass normal sensory organs, communication channels that operate through thought rather than speech, and awareness of electronic systems as living entities rather than mere tools. Many candidates describe this initial connection as a religious revelation, suddenly understanding the Mechanicus doctrine of machine superiority through direct experience rather than mere intellectual acceptance. Subsequent augmentation cycles build upon this neural foundation, replacing organic systems with mechanical alternatives according to the candidate's intended role within Skitarii forces. Rangers destined for long-range reconnaissance and marksmanship undergo extensive optical modifications that replace their natural eyes with sophisticated targeting arrays. These augmetic eyes contain multiple lens systems capable of telescopic magnification, thermal imaging, electromagnetic spectrum analysis, and target identification through integrated data banks containing millions of threat profiles. The installation of augmetic eyes requires complete removal of the organic organs, followed by surgical modification of the eye sockets to accommodate the larger mechanical replacements. The procedure begins with ritual prayers to the machine spirits that will inhabit the new optical systems, followed by precise incisions that preserve the neural pathways necessary for integration with the brain's visual processing centers. Each augmetic eye contains dozens of individual components, lenses, sensors, processing units, and power cells that must be individually blessed and activated according to specific liturgical requirements. Respiratory system replacement represents another critical augmentation phase, particularly for Skitarii vanguard forces expected to operate in toxic or radioactive environments. The organic lungs are surgically removed and replaced with filtration units capable of processing atmospheric contaminants that would prove lethal to unaugmented humans. These mechanical breathing apparatus include chemical sensors that analyze air composition in real time, filtration systems that remove particulates and toxins, and emergency oxygen reserves for operation in vacuum or poisonous atmospheres. Limb replacement follows patterns established by centuries of Mechanicus warfare experience, with each organic arm or leg replaced by mechanical alternatives offering superior strength, endurance, and specialized capabilities. Skitarii legs incorporate stabilization systems that eliminate fatigue during long marches, shock absorption mechanisms that allow drops from significant heights, and integrated power cells that supply energy to other augmetic systems. Arms receive similar upgrades, with enhanced strength actuators, integrated weapon mounts, and manipulation appendages capable of interfacing directly with Mechanicus technology. The ritual aspects surrounding each augmentation procedure reflect the Mechanicus belief that technology possesses spiritual as well as physical properties. Before any surgical modification begins, tech priests perform elaborate ceremonies that invoke the Omnissiah's blessing upon both the organic components being removed and the mechanical replacements being installed. Sacred oils are applied to surgical instruments, while binary hymns request cooperation from the machine spirits that will inhabit the new augmetics. Each component receives individual blessing through specific ritual gestures and spoken liturgies that have remained unchanged for millennia. These techno-liturgies serve practical as well as spiritual purposes within Mechanicus doctrine. The ritual preparation process ensures that all components have been properly tested and calibrated before installation, while the ceremonial aspects create psychological frameworks that help candidates accept their transformation. The combination of religious significance and technical precision reinforces the Mechanicus teaching that technology and spirituality represent different aspects of the same fundamental truth rather than competing philosophies. Progressive augmentation cycles continue throughout a Skitarii warrior's service career, with additional modifications added based on battlefield performance, tactical requirements, and available technology. Veterans who survive multiple campaigns often undergo advanced augmentation procedures that replace entire organ systems with mechanical alternatives. Hearts give way to power cores that provide more reliable energy distribution, while digestive systems are replaced with energy cells that eliminate the need for organic nutrition. These modifications gradually reduce the warrior's dependence on biological processes while enhancing their combat effectiveness and operational endurance. The psychological transformation accompanying physical augmentation represents perhaps the most significant aspect of Skitarii development. Each mechanical replacement removes not just organic tissue, but aspects of human emotional and cognitive response that the Mechanicus views as tactical liabilities. Fear responses diminish as pain receptors are replaced with damage assessment systems that provide objective information rather than subjective distress. Empathy and individual initiative gradually fade as neural pathways associated with independent thought are modified or suppressed to ensure absolute obedience to command authority. This psychological conditioning extends beyond mere emotional suppression to encompass fundamental changes in how Skitarii warriors perceive reality itself. Their augmented senses provide information in formats that baseline humans cannot process. Electromagnetic signatures appear as visible auras around technological devices, while machine spirits communicate through data streams that bypass conventional language entirely. The warriors begin to experience the physical world as an extension of the technological realm rather than a separate domain governed by different principles. Veteran Skitarii who have undergone extensive augmentation cycles often display behavioral patterns that distinguish them clearly from their recently modified counterparts. Their movements acquire mechanical precision that reflects their internal system's influence over motor control, while their speech patterns increasingly incorporate binary cant elements even when communicating with unaugmented personnel. These veterans serve as examples for newer Skitarii, demonstrating the ultimate goal of the augmentation process: complete integration between human consciousness and machine efficiency. The spiritual dimension of Skitarii transformation involves more than simple replacement of religious beliefs with Mechanicus doctrine. The augmentation process creates direct experiential evidence for Mechanicus teachings about the superiority of machine over flesh. Warriors who previously accepted these concepts as abstract philosophy now possess cybernetic systems that demonstrate mechanical reliability, enhanced capability, and freedom from biological limitations. This experiential validation creates absolute certainty in Mechanicus doctrine that no amount of external argument or evidence can shake. Advanced Skitarii veterans often undergo specialized augmentation procedures tailored to specific battlefield roles or operational requirements. Siege specialists receive reinforced skeletal structures and enhanced strength systems that allow them to operate heavy weapons or breach fortified positions. Void warfare experts undergo modifications that enable them to function in zero gravity and vacuum conditions for extended periods. These specialized augmentations represent the culmination of the Mechanicus approach to military effectiveness, creating soldiers whose bodies are literally designed for their intended tactical roles. The irreversible nature of Skitarii augmentation ensures absolute loyalty to the Mechanicus hierarchy. Warriors who have undergone extensive cybernetic modification cannot survive without constant technical maintenance, specialized components, and the sacred oils required for proper system operation. This technological dependence creates bonds stronger than any oath or indoctrination program, as betrayal or desertion would result in inevitable system failure and death. The Skitarii understand that their continued existence depends entirely upon their service to the forge worlds that created and maintain them. The command architecture governing Skitarii forces reflects the rigid hierarchical principles that define all aspects of Mechanicus organization, creating a military structure where technological capability and doctrinal purity determine authority rather than traditional concepts of leadership or charisma. At the apex of this system stand the Tech Dominus, senior adepts whose extensive augmentations and decades of service have elevated them to positions where they can coordinate multiple Skitarii legions across entire campaign theaters. These individuals represent the pinnacle of Mechanicus military leadership, their bodies so extensively modified that they bear little resemblance to their original human forms. A Tech Dominus typically possesses multiple mechanical limbs that allow simultaneous operation of communication arrays, tactical displays, and weapon systems while maintaining constant data link connections with subordinate commanders throughout their area of operations. Their craniums house advanced cogitators capable of processing battlefield information from thousands of individual Skitarii warriors simultaneously, analyzing tactical patterns, resource allocation requirements, and strategic opportunities with computational power that far exceeds baseline human cognitive capacity. The red robes that mark their office conceal bodies that have become living command centers, bristling with data ports, sensor arrays, and interface mechanisms that connect them directly to the technological infrastructure supporting their forces. The battlefield presence of a Tech Dominus transforms the operational capabilities of any Skitarii force under their direct command. Their enhanced cognitive systems can identify tactical opportunities and coordinate responses across multiple engagement zones simultaneously, directing artillery strikes while managing supply line security and processing intelligence reports from reconnaissance elements. This level of battlefield awareness allows Skitarii forces to execute complex multi-phase operations that would require extensive staff coordination in conventional Imperial Guard formations, with the Tech Dominus serving as both supreme commander and central processing node for all tactical information. Strategic planning under Tech Dominus leadership follows methodical patterns that reflect Mechanicus approaches to problem solving and resource management. Campaign objectives are analyzed through probability matrices that account for enemy capabilities, available resources, technological factors, and doctrinal requirements. These calculations produce operational plans that specify precise timetables, equipment allocations, and contingency protocols for various battlefield scenarios. The Tech Dominus coordinates these elements through direct neural interface with subordinate commanders, ensuring that every aspect of the operation proceeds according to calculated parameters. Below the Tech Dominus level, Skitarii Alpha units serve as the primary interface between senior Mechanicus leadership and the warrior formations that execute tactical operations. These individuals occupy a unique position within the command hierarchy, retaining sufficient independent thought to make battlefield decisions, while remaining absolutely bound to their superiors through cybernetic control systems and doctrinal conditioning. The selection process for Alpha designation requires candidates who demonstrate exceptional tactical acumen, leadership capability, and most importantly, unwavering loyalty to Mechanicus principles. The augmentation procedures that create Skitarii Alphas differ significantly from those applied to standard warriors, incorporating specialized neural modifications that enhance tactical processing capability while maintaining the command authority necessary for squad leadership. Alpha candidates receive enhanced communication systems that allow them to interface directly with both their subordinates and their tech priest superiors, creating information networks that span entire battlefield zones. Their optical systems include tactical overlay capabilities that display real-time battlefield data, target prioritization information, and strategic objective markers that guide their decision-making processes. Skitarii Alpha designation follows a standardized system that reflects both the individual's capabilities and their intended operational role within the broader command structure. Alpha's commanding ranger formations receive designations that emphasize their reconnaissance and long-range engagement specializations, while Vanguard Alphas are identified according to their close quarters, combat expertise, and technological warfare capabilities. These designations appear as data tags within the tactical networks linking all Skitarii forces, allowing commanders at every level to instantly assess the capabilities and current status of units under their authority. The cybernetic command protocols that bind Skitarii forces together represent one of the most sophisticated military communication systems in the Imperium, creating information networks that operate at speeds impossible for conventional military formations to achieve. Every Skitarii warrior possesses neural implants that connect them to squad-level tactical networks, which in turn link to company and regimental command systems that ultimately report to the Tech Dominus level. These connections allow for instantaneous transmission of orders, battlefield intelligence, and status reports across entire army groups without the delays inherent in vocal or written communication systems. The technical implementation of these command networks requires constant maintenance by specialized tech priests who ensure that all communication nodes remain properly calibrated and synchronized. Signal degradation, electromagnetic interference, or battle damage can disrupt network connections, potentially isolating individual units or creating information gaps that compromise tactical coordination. Redundant communication pathways and backup systems help maintain network integrity, while portable relay stations can be deployed to extend network coverage into areas where standard systems cannot reach. Command protocol activation follows specific hierarchical patterns that prevent unauthorized access while ensuring rapid response to legitimate orders. Each level of the command structure possesses override capabilities for subordinate units, allowing Tech Dominus commanders to assume direct control of individual squads when tactical situations require precise coordination. These override systems include safeguards that prevent conflicting orders and maintain clear chains of command authority, even when multiple senior commanders operate within the same battlefield zone. The integration between Skitarii legions and higher Mechanicus authorities creates a complex web of overlapping jurisdictions and competing priorities that reflects the broader political structure of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Magos-level commanders possess the authority to requisition Skitarii forces for specific missions, redirect ongoing operations to support Mechanicus strategic objectives, or modify tactical parameters to accommodate new intelligence or changing circumstances. These senior tech priests bring decades of experience and extensive augmentation capabilities that allow them to coordinate operations spanning multiple star systems and involving thousands of individual warriors. Magos commanders typically maintain their authority through remote communication systems rather than direct battlefield presence. Their extensively modified forms, often too valuable or too specialized for frontline deployment. Their command centers, located within heavily fortified Forge World installations or aboard Mechanicus vessels, contain sophisticated communication arrays that maintain contact with Skitarii forces across vast distances. These facilities process intelligence from multiple sources, coordinate logistics support, and provide strategic guidance that shapes tactical operations according to broader Mechanicus objectives. The relationship between battlefield commanders and their Magos superiors requires constant balance between operational autonomy and strategic compliance. Tech Dominus leaders must execute their assigned missions while remaining responsive to changing strategic priorities that may require significant tactical modifications. This balance becomes particularly complex during extended campaigns where communication delays or changing battlefield conditions require local commanders to make decisions that may conflict with original strategic guidance. At the highest levels of Mechanicus hierarchy, Fabricator General Oversight provides ultimate authority over all Skitarii deployments within their respective Forge World domains. These supreme commanders of individual Forge Worlds possess the power to commit entire legions to specific campaigns, negotiate military support agreements with imperial authorities, or redirect forces to address threats against Mechanicus interests. The Fabricator General of Mars maintains special authority over Skitarii forces throughout the galaxy, reflecting the Red Planet's position as the primary Forge World and spiritual center of the Cult Mechanicus. Fabricator General decision-making processes incorporate political considerations that extend far beyond immediate military requirements. Skitarii deployments must account for treaty obligations with the broader Imperium, resource allocation requirements for Forge World operations, and the complex web of alliances and rivalries that exist between different Mechanicus factions. These strategic calculations often produce deployment decisions that may seem tactically suboptimal, but serve broader Mechanicus interests within the larger imperial power structure. The autonomy granted to different Forge Worlds creates significant variations in Skitarii organization and operational doctrine that reflect local conditions, available resources, and regional interpretations of Mechanicus teachings. Major Forge Worlds like Lucius, Metallica, and Ryza maintain distinct military traditions that influence their Skitarii forces' equipment preferences, tactical doctrines, and command structures. These variations allow the Mechanicus to field specialized forces optimized for different types of warfare, while maintaining overall strategic coherence across their military assets. Lucius produces Skitarii forces renowned for their expertise in siege warfare and defensive operations, their warriors equipped with enhanced armor systems and heavy weapons designed for prolonged engagements. The Forge World's extensive experience in manufacturing defensive technologies influences their military doctrine, creating Skitarii formations that excel at fortification construction, siege equipment operation, and the systematic reduction of enemy strongpoints. Their command structures emphasize methodical planning and resource conservation, reflecting the patient approach that characterizes their industrial operations. Metallica's Skitarii specialize in void warfare and boarding actions, their augmentations optimized for combat in zero gravity and confined spaces aboard spacecraft or space stations. These warriors receive specialized equipment including mag-lock boots, void-sealed armor systems, and weapons designed for use in pressurized environments where hull breaches represent constant threats. Their command protocols incorporate specific procedures for void combat operations, including coordination with Mechanicus naval assets and the complex logistics of maintaining equipment in space-based environments. The Forge world of Ryza produces Skitarii forces that emphasize plasma weaponry and high-energy combat systems, their warriors modified to withstand the radiation and heat generated by their preferred armaments. Ryzen Skitarii formations typically include higher proportions of plasma, equipped specialists than forces from other Forge worlds, while their command structures incorporate specialized safety protocols and maintenance requirements necessary for reliable plasma weapon operation. Their tactical doctrines favor aggressive engagement at medium ranges, where plasma weapons achieve maximum effectiveness. Regional variations extend to command structure details that reflect different Forge worlds' interpretations of optimal military organization. Some maintain larger alpha to warrior ratios that emphasize decentralized decision-making and tactical flexibility, while others prefer centralized command systems that maximize coordination and control. These differences create distinct operational signatures that experienced Imperial commanders learn to recognize and account for when coordinating joint operations with Mechanicus forces. The relationship between individual Forge worlds and their Skitarii legions involves complex considerations of loyalty, resource allocation, and strategic priority that sometimes create tension within the broader Mechanicus hierarchy. Forge worlds invest significant resources in creating and maintaining their Skitarii forces, developing emotional and practical attachments to military assets that represent decades of careful preparation and resource expenditure. This investment creates natural reluctance to commit forces to operations that primarily benefit other Mechanicus factions or Imperial authorities rather than the sponsoring Forge world's direct interests. Competition between Forge worlds for prestigious assignments, advanced technology access, or favorable resource allocation agreements can influence Skitarii deployment decisions in ways that may not align with optimal strategic planning. Forge world leaders may volunteer their forces for high-profile campaigns that offer opportunities for technological recovery or political advancement, while avoiding assignments that offer limited benefits despite clear military necessity. These political considerations add additional complexity to command decisions at every level of the Mechanicus hierarchy. The integration of Skitarii forces with other Imperial military assets requires careful coordination that accounts for significant differences in doctrine, equipment, and command philosophy. Imperial Guard commanders often struggle to coordinate effectively with Skitarii forces, whose tactical approaches emphasize technological superiority and precise execution over the mass assault tactics favored by many Guard formations. Communication barriers created by binary cant usage and cybernetic command systems can complicate joint operations, requiring specialized liaison personnel who understand both military traditions. Successful integration typically requires extensive pre-deployment coordination that establishes clear command relationships, communication protocols, and tactical objectives that account for each force's capabilities and limitations. Skitarii forces excel in roles that emphasize their technological advantages: reconnaissance, precision strikes, and operations in hazardous environments, while Imperial Guard formations handle missions requiring large numbers of personnel or extended occupation duties. This division of responsibilities allows both forces to contribute their strengths while minimizing conflicts over tactical approaches or resource allocation. The arsenal wielded by Skitarii forces represents millennia of technological refinement guided by the sacred principles of the Omnissiah, creating weapons that transcend mere tools of destruction to become instruments of divine will. Each weapon pattern has been blessed through countless rituals, tested in the crucible of warfare across 1,000 worlds, and perfected according to the exacting standards that define Mechanicus craftsmanship. These armaments serve not merely as implements of war, but as physical manifestations of the cult Mechanicus's fundamental belief in the superiority of blessed technology over crude organic limitations. The radium weaponry that forms the backbone of many Skitarii arsenals exemplifies the Mechanicus approach to combining devastating effectiveness with the sacred principles of technological warfare. Radium carbines, the most common variant of this weapon family, fire specially prepared ammunition that delivers both immediate kinetic damage and long-term radiological contamination to target areas. The ammunition itself represents a triumph of Mechanicus manufacturing capability, with each round containing precisely calculated quantities of radioactive isotopes suspended within blessed metal casings that ensure optimal dispersal upon impact. The manufacturing process for radium ammunition follows strict liturgical requirements that transform raw materials into instruments of the Omnissiah's wrath. Tech priests oversee every stage of production, from the initial blessing of uranium ore extracted from Forge World mining operations to the final consecration of completed rounds stored within climate-controlled magazines. Sacred oils containing trace amounts of blessed metals are applied to each cartridge, while binary hymns invoke the machine spirits that guide the ammunition's flight toward designated targets. This ritual preparation ensures that every shot fired carries both physical destructive power and spiritual authority derived from proper observance of Mechanicus doctrine. Combat deployment of radium weaponry creates battlefield effects that extend far beyond the immediate engagement zone. Areas subjected to sustained radium carbine fire become contaminated with radioactive particles that render them hazardous to unprotected organic life for extended periods. Enemy forces attempting to advance through these zones suffer progressive radiation exposure that degrades their combat effectiveness, even if they avoid direct hits from subsequent volleys. The psychological impact of radium contamination often proves as valuable as its physical effects, as opposing commanders must account for areas that have become effectively impassable to their unaugmented troops. Skitarii warriors equipped with radium carbines undergo specialized augmentation procedures that protect them from the weapon's radioactive emissions while enhancing their effectiveness in contaminated environments. Internal filtration systems prevent inhalation of radioactive particles, while enhanced cellular repair mechanisms counteract the gradual tissue damage that would accumulate in unprotected personnel. These modifications allow Skitarii formations to operate freely within areas they have contaminated through their own weapons' fire, creating tactical advantages that conventional military forces cannot replicate. The longer-range capabilities of Skitarii forces are exemplified by the Radium Jezil, a precision weapon that combines the flesh-corrupting properties of radium ammunition with the accuracy required for long-distance engagements. These weapons feature extended barrels that improve projectile velocity and stability, while sophisticated targeting systems integrated directly into the wielder's augmented optical array provide the precision necessary for effective long-range fire. Radium Jezils typically mount advanced scopes containing multiple lens systems that can penetrate smoke, darkness, and electromagnetic interference to identify targets at extreme distances. The construction of Radium Jezils follows patterns established by Forge World armories that specialize in precision weapon manufacturing. Each weapon begins with a blessed steel barrel that has been ritually prepared through specific heat treatment processes designed to ensure optimal projectile flight characteristics. The barrel receives individual blessing from qualified tech priests who verify its spiritual purity and mechanical precision through elaborate testing procedures that combine ballistic measurement with theological evaluation. Stock and firing mechanism components undergo similar consecration rituals that invoke machine spirit cooperation and ensure reliable function under battlefield conditions. Skitarii Rangers equipped with Radium Jezils serve as designated marksmen within their formations, providing precision fire support that can eliminate specific targets at ranges exceeding those of standard infantry weapons. Their augmented nervous systems eliminate the tremor and fatigue that affect unaugmented snipers during extended shooting sessions, while integrated stabilization systems compensate for environmental factors that might degrade accuracy. The radioactive nature of their ammunition creates additional tactical advantages, as successful hits deliver contamination that can incapacitate targets even when the initial wound might not prove immediately fatal. Arc weaponry represents another cornerstone of Skitarii armament philosophy, harnessing electrical energy to create weapons capable of devastating both organic targets and mechanical systems with equal effectiveness. These weapons generate controlled electrical discharges that can overload enemy equipment, disrupt communication systems, and inflict severe neural damage on living targets. The technology underlying arc weapons draws upon Forge World expertise in power generation and electromagnetic manipulation, creating armaments that exemplify the Mechanicus mastery over the fundamental forces of the physical universe. Arc rifles serve as the standard pattern for this weapon family, featuring power cells that store massive electrical charges released through specially designed projection systems. The weapon's discharge creates visible electrical arcs that leap between the rifle's focusing array and the designated target, delivering energy loads sufficient to overwhelm most personal protection systems. Against mechanical targets, arc rifle fire can cause catastrophic system failures that disable vehicles, destroy communication equipment, or trigger ammunition explosions in enemy supply depots. The visual spectacle created by arc weapon discharge serves important psychological purposes beyond mere intimidation effects. The brilliant electrical displays demonstrate Mechanicus' technological superiority in terms that even the most primitive enemies can understand, while the distinctive crackling sounds associated with arc weapon fire create audio signatures that experienced opponents learn to fear. These weapons announce their presence through sensory effects that transcend language barriers, communicating the Omnissiah's power through direct demonstration rather than abstract theological argument. Arc pistols provide Skitarii forces with close-quarters electrical weaponry designed for urban combat and boarding action scenarios where longer weapons prove unwieldy. These compact weapons sacrifice some range and power output in exchange for improved maneuverability and faster target acquisition capabilities. Arc pistol power cells contain sufficient energy for multiple shots before requiring replacement, while their electrical discharge systems can be adjusted for different tactical situations, ranging from non-lethal stunning effects to lethal overload attacks that can kill multiple targets simultaneously. The interaction between arc weaponry and enemy technology creates tactical opportunities that conventional kinetic weapons cannot provide. Arc weapon discharges can disable enemy vehicles without destroying them completely, allowing Skitarii forces to capture intact equipment for later analysis and potential incorporation into Mechanicus arsenals. Communication jamming effects produced by arc weapon fire can isolate enemy units from their command structure, creating confusion and coordination failures that Skitarii forces can exploit through coordinated assault actions. Galvanic rifles represent the pinnacle of Skitarii precision weaponry, incorporating advanced targeting systems that interface directly with the wielder's augmented consciousness to achieve accuracy levels impossible for unaugmented marksmen. These weapons feature integrated cogitator systems that calculate trajectory, wind compensation, target movement prediction, and optimal firing solutions in real time, presenting this information directly to the Skitarii warrior through neural interface connections. The symbiosis between weapon and wielder creates a unified targeting system that responds to threats with mechanical precision and supernatural accuracy. The cogitator-assisted aiming systems built into galvanic rifles process environmental data from multiple sources simultaneously, accounting for atmospheric pressure, humidity levels, electromagnetic interference, and gravitational variations that might affect projectile flight paths. This information combines with target analysis data that identifies weak points in enemy armor, optimal impact angles for maximum damage, and predicted movement patterns based on observed behavior. The resulting firing solutions appear as targeting overlays within the Skitarii warrior's augmented vision, highlighting optimal aim points and indicating the precise moment when conditions favor successful engagement. Galvanic rifle ammunition utilizes electrically charged projectiles that deliver both kinetic impact and electrical discharge effects upon target contact. The rounds contain miniaturized power cells that activate during flight, building electrical potential that discharges on impact to create additional damage beyond the initial kinetic effects. This dual-mode damage system proves particularly effective against targets wearing powered armor or cybernetic enhancement systems, as the electrical discharge can overload protective systems while the kinetic impact delivers physical trauma. The manufacturing process for galvanic rifles requires integration between multiple Forge World specialties, combining precision mechanical engineering with advanced electronics and sacred weapon blessing rituals. Each rifle begins with a blessed steel receiver that houses the weapon's cogitator systems and electrical generation components. The barrel receives individual calibration to ensure optimal interaction with the weapon's targeting systems, while the stock incorporates neural interface connections that must be precisely matched to the intended wielder's augmentation patterns. Target acquisition capabilities provided by galvanic rifle systems extend beyond simple accuracy improvements to include threat assessment and tactical analysis functions that enhance overall battlefield effectiveness. The weapons can identify enemy personnel by analyzing their equipment signatures, movement patterns, and behavioral characteristics, providing targeting priority recommendations that help Skitarii warriors focus their fire on the most dangerous opponents. These systems maintain databases containing information about known enemy types, allowing for automatic identification of specific threats and appropriate tactical responses. The specialized equipment carried by Skitarii forces extends far beyond their primary weapons to encompass a comprehensive array of technological systems designed to provide tactical advantages across diverse operational environments. Omnispec's arrays represent one of the most sophisticated sensor systems available to Imperial military forces, combining multiple detection methods into unified packages that can identify hidden enemies, analyze battlefield conditions, and coordinate targeting information across entire formations. Omnispec's technology incorporates electromagnetic sensors capable of detecting metallic objects through solid barriers, thermal imaging systems that identify heat signatures from concealed personnel or vehicles, and motion detection arrays that can track movement patterns across extended areas. These sensors operate simultaneously to create comprehensive battlefield awareness that eliminates most forms of concealment or camouflage that enemies might employ. The information gathered by Omnispec's arrays feeds directly into the tactical networks linking Skitarii forces, providing real-time intelligence that enhances coordination and target selection across multiple engagement zones. Enhanced data-tethers create communication links between individual Skitarii warriors and their command structure that operate at speeds impossible for conventional military communication systems to achieve. These systems utilize quantum-entangled particles to maintain instantaneous communication connections that cannot be intercepted or jammed through conventional electronic warfare methods. Data tether networks allow for real-time transmission of targeting information, tactical updates, and command orders across entire army groups without the delays inherent in radio or optical communication systems. The technical implementation of data tether systems requires careful maintenance by specialized tech priests who ensure that quantum entanglement remains stable despite battlefield conditions that might disrupt conventional electronics. Environmental factors including electromagnetic interference, gravitational anomalies, and warp field fluctuations can affect data tether performance, requiring backup communication systems and redundant network pathways to maintain operational effectiveness. Portable relay stations can extend data tether coverage into areas where standard systems cannot reach, while emergency protocols allow for network reconfiguration when primary communication nodes suffer battle damage. Sanctified armor patterns worn by Skitarii forces provide protection that combines physical defense with spiritual safeguards against the various threats encountered across Imperial battlefields. These armor systems incorporate blessed metals that have been ritually prepared according to specific Mechanicus liturgies, creating protective barriers that resist both conventional weapons and supernatural attacks. The manufacturing process involves multiple consecration ceremonies that invoke machine spirit protection while ensuring optimal material properties for battlefield durability. Standard Skitarii armor features modular construction that allows for customization according to specific operational requirements and individual warrior augmentation patterns. Base armor plates provide protection against small arms fire and shrapnel, while maintaining sufficient flexibility for combat maneuvers. Additional armor modules can be attached for specific missions requiring enhanced protection, including radiation shielding for operations in contaminated environments, electromagnetic hardening for electronic warfare scenarios, or reinforced plating for close-quarters combat situations. The integration between Skitarii armor and their cybernetic augmentations creates protective systems that extend beyond simple physical barriers to encompass comprehensive life support and performance enhancement capabilities. Armor power systems connect directly to the warrior's internal augmentations, providing energy for enhanced strength actuators, optical systems, and communication equipment. Environmental sealing allows for operation in vacuum conditions or toxic atmospheres, while integrated medical systems can provide emergency treatment for combat injuries or system malfunctions. Specialized armor variants exist for different Skitarii roles and operational environments, reflecting the Mechanicus approach to optimizing equipment for specific tactical requirements. Ranger armor emphasizes mobility and sensor integration, featuring lightweight construction and enhanced optical system mounts that support long-range reconnaissance missions. Vanguard armor prioritizes protection and close-quarters combat capability, incorporating reinforced plating and integrated weapon mounts designed for urban warfare and boarding actions. The blessing rituals applied to Skitarii equipment extend beyond mere ceremonial observance to encompass practical procedures that ensure optimal performance and reliability under battlefield conditions. Each piece of equipment receives individual consecration that includes both spiritual invocation and technical verification, creating comprehensive quality assurance processes that combine theological requirements with engineering standards. These rituals serve to identify potential manufacturing defects while simultaneously invoking machine spirit cooperation that enhances equipment performance beyond baseline specifications. Sacred oils and blessed lubricants used in equipment maintenance contain trace amounts of rare metals and synthetic compounds that provide genuine performance benefits beyond their ritual significance. These substances reduce mechanical wear, improve electrical conductivity, and provide corrosion resistance that extends equipment's service life under harsh operational conditions. The application of these materials follows specific liturgical patterns that ensure proper distribution while invoking the appropriate spiritual protections for each equipment type. The Skitarii Rangers represent the extended sensory apparatus of the Adeptus Mechanicus, serving as the reconnaissance specialists whose augmented capabilities allow them to operate far beyond the protective umbrella of Forge World defenses and main battle formations. These warriors undergo specialized modifications that transform them into living sensor platforms, their bodies adapted for extended independent operations in hostile territory where conventional forces would struggle to maintain effectiveness. The Rangers embody the Mechanicus principle of information superiority, gathering intelligence that enables their tech priest masters to make informed tactical decisions while remaining hidden from enemy detection systems. The selection process for Ranger candidates emphasizes individuals who demonstrate exceptional spatial awareness, patience, and the psychological resilience necessary for prolonged isolation missions. Unlike Vanguard warriors who operate in cohesive squad formations with constant mutual support, Rangers must function effectively while separated from friendly forces for extended periods, relying on their augmented systems and individual capabilities to complete assigned objectives. Candidates undergo extensive psychological evaluation to identify those capable of maintaining mission focus, despite the sensory isolation and emotional detachment that characterizes Ranger operations. The augmentation procedures that create Ranger specialists focus primarily on sensory enhancement and stealth capabilities, rather than the combat modifications that define other Skitarii variants. The most distinctive feature of Ranger modification involves complete replacement of organic optical systems with sophisticated targeting arrays that provide capabilities far exceeding those of baseline human vision. These augmetic eyes contain multiple lens configurations that can be adjusted for different operational requirements, from extreme telescopic magnification for long-range target identification to wide-angle surveillance modes that monitor large areas simultaneously. The optical systems installed in Ranger units incorporate advanced light amplification technology that allows for effective operation in complete darkness, while thermal imaging capabilities reveal heat signatures through smoke, fog, or other visual obstructions. Electromagnetic spectrum analysis functions enable Rangers to detect energy emissions from enemy equipment, communication systems, and power sources that would remain invisible to conventional reconnaissance methods. These multispectral capabilities create comprehensive battlefield awareness that extends far beyond normal human sensory limitations. Target identification systems integrated into Ranger optical arrays contain extensive databases of enemy equipment signatures, personnel identification markers, and threat assessment protocols that enable automatic recognition of priority targets. When a Ranger's augmetic eyes detect potential threats, the integrated cogitators compare observed characteristics against stored templates to provide instant identification and threat classification. This automated analysis appears as data overlays within the Ranger's field of vision, highlighting important targets while filtering out irrelevant background information that might distract from mission-critical observations. The neural interface systems connecting Ranger optical arrays to their augmented consciousness allow for direct data recording and transmission that bypasses the limitations of human memory and verbal communication. Observed intelligence can be stored in digital format within the Ranger's internal memory banks, then transmitted directly to command elements through encrypted data-tether connections. This capability ensures that critical intelligence reaches decision-makers without degradation or interpretation errors that might occur through conventional reporting methods. Communication systems installed in Ranger units emphasize long-range capability and signal security rather than the high-bandwidth networks used by main battle formations. Rangers carry specialized Vox equipment capable of maintaining contact with command elements across extended distances, while quantum-encrypted channels prevent enemy interception of sensitive intelligence transmissions. Emergency beacon systems provide backup communication methods that can penetrate electromagnetic interference or jamming attempts that might disrupt primary communication networks. The integration of Auspex technology into Ranger equipment creates mobile sensor platforms capable of detecting concealed enemies, identifying hidden fortifications, and analyzing battlefield conditions across wide operational areas. These devices combine electromagnetic sensors, motion detectors, and atmospheric analysis systems into compact packages that Rangers can deploy during reconnaissance missions. Auspex readings provide detailed information about enemy dispositions, equipment types, and activity patterns that enable commanders to plan effective tactical responses. Advanced Auspex systems carried by veteran Rangers incorporate specialized detection modes tailored for specific operational environments and enemy types. Urban warfare variants emphasize wall-penetrating sensors that can identify personnel and equipment within buildings, while wilderness models focus on motion detection and camouflage penetration capabilities. Anti-vehicle modes prioritize detection of mechanical signatures and energy emissions that reveal the presence of armored units or aircraft operating in the area. The stealth capabilities that define Ranger operations rely heavily on chain-lialing technology that provides adaptive camouflage superior to conventional concealment methods. Chain cloaks worn by rangers contain millions of microscopic cells that can alter their color and pattern to match surrounding environmental conditions, creating near-perfect camouflage that renders the wearer effectively invisible to visual detection. The technology responds automatically to changing conditions, adjusting camouflage patterns as rangers move through different terrain types or lighting conditions. The effectiveness of chain camouflage extends beyond simple visual concealment to include thermal signature suppression and electromagnetic emission dampening that reduces detectability across multiple sensor types. Advanced chain variants incorporate heat distribution systems that disperse the wearer's thermal signature across a wider area, making detection through thermal imaging significantly more difficult. Electromagnetic shielding properties help mask the electronic emissions generated by the ranger's augmetic systems and equipment, reducing vulnerability to enemy sensor sweeps. Sound dampening modifications applied to ranger equipment and augmentations minimize acoustic signatures that might reveal their presence to enemy forces. Specialized lubricants and shock-absorbing materials reduce mechanical noise from moving components, while modified breathing apparatus eliminates the distinctive sounds associated with artificial respiratory systems. Footwear incorporates sound-absorbing materials and pressure distribution systems that reduce footfall noise across various terrain types. Movement techniques employed by rangers emphasize patience and methodical advance over speed, reflecting their role as intelligence gatherers rather than assault troops. Rangers undergo extensive training in fieldcraft that teaches them to exploit natural concealment, avoid detection patterns that enemy forces might recognize, and maintain operational security during extended missions. These skills combine with their technological advantages to create reconnaissance capabilities that exceed those of conventional Imperial Guard scout units. The weapons carried by ranger formations prioritize accuracy and range over rate of fire or close quarters effectiveness, reflecting their primary role as precision marksmen supporting larger operations from concealed positions. Galvanic rifles equipped with advanced targeting systems provide the accuracy necessary for long-range engagements, while their integrated cogitators calculate optimal firing solutions that account for environmental conditions and target movement patterns. The electrical discharge effects of galvanic ammunition prove particularly effective against enemy communication equipment and electronic systems. Transuranic arquebus weapons represent the pinnacle of ranger marksmanship capability, providing extreme-range precision fire that can eliminate priority targets from distances exceeding conventional sniper weapon effectiveness. These weapons incorporate sophisticated targeting systems that interface directly with the wielder's augmented optical arrays, creating unified targeting solutions that combine weapon capabilities with enhanced sensory input. The high-velocity projectiles fired by transuranic arquebuses can penetrate most personal armor systems while delivering sufficient kinetic energy to incapacitate targets through massive trauma. The ammunition used in transuranic arquebus weapons contains depleted uranium cores that provide superior armor penetration capabilities while maintaining projectile stability across extended flight paths. These rounds undergo ritual preparation that includes both technical quality assurance procedures and spiritual blessing ceremonies that invoke machine spirit guidance for accurate target engagement. The radioactive properties of the ammunition create additional tactical advantages, as successful hits deliver contamination effects that can incapacitate targets even when initial wounds might not prove immediately fatal. Target designation capabilities provided by ranger units extend their battlefield utility beyond simple reconnaissance to encompass fire support coordination for heavier Mechanicus assets. Rangers equipped with target designator systems can mark priority targets for artillery strikes, orbital bombardment, or precision munitions delivered by aircraft or missile systems. These designation systems utilize laser guidance technology that provides pinpoint accuracy for guided munitions while remaining undetectable to most enemy sensor systems. The coordination between ranger units and artillery assets requires sophisticated communication protocols that ensure accurate target information transmission while maintaining operational security. Target coordinates calculated by Ranger Auspex systems undergo verification procedures that confirm target identification and assess collateral damage risks before fire missions commence. Emergency abort protocols allow Rangers to cancel incoming fire support if battlefield conditions change or civilian casualties become likely. Forward observer duties performed by Rangers involve more than simple target identification, encompassing comprehensive battlefield analysis that enables commanders to understand enemy capabilities, intentions, and vulnerabilities. Rangers monitor enemy communication patterns, analyze logistical movements, and assess defensive preparations to provide intelligence that shapes strategic planning at multiple command levels. This information proves particularly valuable when facing technologically sophisticated enemies whose capabilities might not be immediately apparent through conventional observation methods. The integration of Ranger intelligence into broader Mechanicus tactical planning requires specialized analysis procedures that combine technical assessment with strategic evaluation. Intelligence reports from Ranger units undergo review by qualified tech priests who possess the technical knowledge necessary to interpret observations about enemy equipment, fortifications, and operational patterns. This analysis produces tactical recommendations that account for both immediate battlefield conditions and longer-term strategic implications. Infiltration missions conducted by Rangers often involve extended periods behind enemy lines, gathering intelligence about strategic targets, supply lines, and command facilities that cannot be observed from friendly territory. These operations require Rangers to maintain operational effectiveness while isolated from friendly forces for weeks or months, relying entirely on their augmented capabilities and pre-positioned supply caches for survival. The intelligence gathered during these missions often proves crucial for planning major offensive operations or defending against enemy attacks. The survival systems integrated into Ranger equipment enable extended independent operations in hostile environments where conventional forces would require constant resupply and support. Internal power cells provide energy for augmetic systems over extended periods, while emergency rations and water purification systems reduce dependence on external logistics. Medical systems can provide basic treatment for injuries or equipment malfunctions, though serious damage typically requires evacuation to friendly territory for proper repair. Extraction procedures for Rangers completing extended missions involve carefully planned operations that minimize exposure of friendly forces while ensuring successful recovery of valuable intelligence assets. Extraction points are typically located in areas offering concealment and multiple escape routes, while timing is coordinated to avoid enemy patrol patterns and surveillance activities. Emergency extraction protocols provide backup options when primary plans become compromised through enemy action or changing battlefield conditions. The psychological conditioning required for effective Ranger operations involves suppression of emotional responses that might compromise mission effectiveness, including fear, loneliness, and the natural human desire for social interaction. Rangers undergo mental conditioning that enables them to function effectively despite extended isolation, maintaining focus on assigned objectives while ignoring psychological stresses that would incapacitate unaugmented personnel. This conditioning creates individuals capable of extraordinary patience and dedication, willing to remain motionless for days if necessary to complete their assigned observations. The relationship between Rangers and their tech priest handlers involves constant monitoring of psychological status and mission effectiveness through data-tether connections that provide real-time assessment of Ranger condition. Command elements can detect signs of system malfunction, psychological stress, or mission compromise through analysis of telemetry data transmitted from Ranger units. This monitoring capability allows for timely intervention when Rangers require assistance or extraction from dangerous situations. Veteran Rangers who survive multiple extended missions often undergo additional augmentation procedures that enhance their capabilities for increasingly difficult assignments. Advanced optical systems provide enhanced target identification capabilities, while improved stealth systems enable operations in areas under heavy enemy surveillance. These veterans serve as training cadre for newer Rangers, though their extensive modifications and psychological conditioning often make them unsuitable for duties requiring significant human interaction. The tactical doctrine governing Ranger employment emphasizes their role as force multipliers, whose intelligence gathering and target designation capabilities enhance the effectiveness of entire army groups. A single Ranger unit can provide targeting information that enables precise artillery strikes against enemy command facilities, while their reconnaissance reports allow friendly forces to avoid enemy strongpoints or exploit tactical weaknesses. This multiplication effect makes Rangers among the most cost-effective assets available to Mechanicus commanders, despite the significant resources required for their creation and maintenance. While Rangers serve as the extended eyes of the Mechanicus, the Skitarii vanguard represent its aggressive fist, advancing into the most hazardous combat zones where conventional Imperial forces would face certain annihilation. These warriors specialize in close-quarters combat and technological warfare, their bodies extensively modified to survive the radioactive environments they create through their weaponry, while maintaining the offensive capability necessary to overwhelm enemy positions through concentrated firepower and relentless advance. The Vanguard embody the Mechanicus doctrine of aggressive technological superiority, bringing the Omnissiah's wrath directly to enemies who dare oppose the sacred quest for knowledge. The physiological modifications that distinguish Vanguard warriors from other Skitarii variants focus primarily on radiation resistance and close combat effectiveness, rather than the sensory enhancements that characterize Ranger forces. Vanguard candidates undergo extensive internal organ replacement that eliminates their vulnerability to the radioactive contamination generated by their own weapons and equipment. Their respiratory systems are completely replaced with filtration units capable of processing heavily contaminated atmospheres, while their circulatory systems incorporate synthetic blood substitutes that resist radiation damage and maintain optimal performance despite exposure levels that would prove fatal to unaugmented personnel. The cellular modification procedures applied to Vanguard warriors involve systematic replacement of organic tissue with radiation-hardened synthetic alternatives that maintain biological function while providing immunity to radioactive contamination. These synthetic tissues incorporate specialized repair mechanisms that can counteract radiation damage in real time, preventing the cellular degradation that normally accompanies exposure to high-energy particles. The process requires multiple surgical cycles spread across several months, with each procedure replacing specific organ systems according to carefully calculated schedules that maintain the warrior's combat effectiveness throughout the transformation process. Internal monitoring systems installed during Vanguard augmentation provide constant assessment of radiation exposure levels, tissue condition, and system performance that enables optimal deployment in contaminated environments. These systems include dosimeter arrays that track cumulative radiation exposure across multiple wavelengths, cellular damage assessment protocols that identify areas requiring enhanced repair activity, and performance optimization routines that adjust internal system parameters to maintain peak efficiency despite environmental hazards. The data collected by these monitoring systems feeds directly into command networks, allowing tech priest supervisors to manage Vanguard deployment patterns that maximize operational effectiveness while preventing system overload. The radiation resistance modifications that define Vanguard physiology extend beyond simple immunity to encompass active exploitation of radioactive environments for tactical advantage. Vanguard warriors can operate freely within areas contaminated by their own weapons' fire, advancing through zones that remain lethal to enemy forces for extended periods. This capability allows vanguard formations to create tactical corridors through enemy defensive positions, using sustained radium weapon fire to establish contaminated zones that channel enemy movement into predetermined engagement areas where Mechanicus forces can achieve maximum effectiveness. The psychological conditioning applied to vanguard warriors emphasizes aggressive advance and close quarters engagement over the patient observation techniques that characterize ranger training. Vanguard candidates undergo mental modification that suppresses fear responses and enhances combat aggression, creating warriors who advance steadily toward enemy positions despite heavy defensive fire. This conditioning incorporates tactical programming that emphasizes coordinated assault techniques, target prioritization protocols, and the systematic destruction of enemy resistance through concentrated firepower application. Combat doctrine governing Vanguard operations centers on the principle of overwhelming firepower concentration delivered through rapid advance into effective engagement ranges. Vanguard formations typically advance in coordinated waves that saturate target areas with radium weapon fire, creating contaminated zones that deny terrain to enemy forces while establishing fire bases for subsequent assault phases. The radioactive ammunition used by Vanguard weapons creates cumulative contamination effects that increase in severity as engagements continue, gradually degrading enemy defensive capabilities even when individual shots fail to achieve immediate incapacitation. The tactical employment of radium weaponry by Vanguard forces involves careful coordination between multiple weapon systems that create overlapping contamination fields across entire battlefield zones. Radium carbines provide the primary volume of fire necessary to establish initial contamination, while specialized radium weapons deliver concentrated doses to specific target areas requiring enhanced contamination levels. The electromagnetic properties of radium ammunition create additional tactical advantages, as the radioactive particles interfere with enemy communication systems and sensor equipment in ways that conventional ammunition cannot replicate. Vanguard formations typically operate in close coordination with Mechanicus battle automata that provide heavy weapons support and serve as mobile command platforms for organic controllers. The integration between Vanguard warriors and their robotic assets creates combined arms formations that leverage both human tactical flexibility and mechanical reliability to achieve battlefield objectives that neither force type could accomplish independently. Vanguard Alpha units serve as primary controllers for battle automata, their enhanced neural interfaces allowing direct command input that coordinates robotic actions with organic unit movements. The command protocols governing battle automata integration require Vanguard controllers to maintain constant data link connections with their assigned robotic assets, monitoring system status and providing tactical guidance through direct neural interface. These connections allow for real-time coordination between organic and mechanical elements that operates at speeds impossible for conventional command systems to achieve. Battle automata respond to controller input with mechanical precision, executing complex maneuvers and fire support missions that complement Vanguard advance patterns while providing covering fire during critical assault phases. Castellan robot integration with Vanguard formations exemplifies the Mechanicus approach to combined organic-mechanical warfare, creating tactical units that combine human adaptability with robotic firepower and durability. These massive battle automata serve as mobile weapons platforms that can deliver sustained heavy weapons fire while advancing alongside Vanguard warriors through contaminated terrain. Their radiation-hardened construction allows them to operate effectively within areas heavily contaminated by radium weapons, while their programmable combat protocols can be adjusted to support specific tactical requirements as battlefield conditions evolve. The programming systems that control Castellan robot behavior in combat incorporate multiple operational modes that can be selected according to tactical requirements and battlefield conditions. Aegis protocol configuration emphasizes defensive operations and area denial, with the robots establishing firing positions that provide overlapping fields of fire across designated zones. Conqueror Protocol focuses on aggressive advance and assault operations, coordinating robot movement with vanguard formations to maximize combined firepower effects. Protector Protocol balances offensive and defensive capabilities, allowing robots to provide fire support while maintaining positional flexibility for changing tactical situations. Datasmith specialists who accompany vanguard formations serve as technical liaison personnel responsible for battle automata programming and maintenance during active operations. These tech priests possess the specialized knowledge necessary to modify robot combat protocols in real time, adjusting operational parameters to respond to changing battlefield conditions or enemy tactics. Their presence ensures that battle automata remain optimally configured for current tactical requirements while providing technical expertise that enables rapid repair of battle damage or system malfunctions. The coordination between Datasmith specialists and Vanguard controllers requires sophisticated communication protocols that ensure seamless integration between human tactical decision-making and robotic execution capabilities. Datasmith personnel monitor battle automata performance through comprehensive diagnostic systems that track weapon effectiveness, movement efficiency, and system integrity across multiple robotic assets simultaneously. This monitoring capability allows for proactive maintenance and tactical adjustment that maintains optimal performance throughout extended engagements. Skitarian infiltrator integration with Vanguard operations provides specialized reconnaissance and target elimination capabilities that complement the formation's primary assault role. These heavily augmented warriors possess stealth systems and close combat modifications that enable them to penetrate enemy defensive positions ahead of main Vanguard advances, eliminating key personnel and disrupting command structures before the primary assault commences. Their fléchette blasters and taser goads prove particularly effective against enemy leaders and communication specialists whose elimination can paralyze defensive coordination. The deployment patterns used by Skitarian infiltrators emphasize independent operation ahead of main Vanguard formations, utilizing their stealth capabilities to establish positions within enemy defensive zones before the primary assault begins. Their neurostatic aura generators create localized electromagnetic interference that disrupts enemy communication systems and targeting equipment, creating confusion that Vanguard forces can exploit during their advance. The psychological impact of infiltrator attacks often proves as valuable as their direct combat effectiveness, as enemy forces must allocate resources to counter-infiltration efforts that reduce their ability to resist the main Vanguard assault. Skitarian Ruststalker deployment alongside Vanguard formations provides specialized anti-armor capabilities that enable effective engagement of heavily protected enemy assets. These warriors carry transonic weapons that generate vibration frequencies capable of disrupting molecular bonds in enemy armor, while their cordclaw appendages can tear through reinforced materials that conventional weapons cannot penetrate. Their enhanced agility and close combat modifications allow them to engage enemy vehicles and fortified positions that might otherwise require heavy weapons or artillery support to neutralize. The tactical coordination between different Skitarian variants and Vanguard formations requires careful timing and positioning that maximizes each unit type's specialized capabilities while maintaining overall assault momentum. Infiltrators typically deploy first to establish reconnaissance and disruption effects, followed by Ruststalker units that eliminate specific high-value targets, with main Vanguard formations advancing to exploit the confusion and damage created by these preliminary operations. This layered approach creates multiple simultaneous threats that overwhelm enemy defensive planning while ensuring optimal utilization of each unit's specialized equipment and training. Urban warfare applications of Vanguard doctrine emphasize building-to-building advancement through contaminated zones that deny enemy forces the ability to establish effective defensive positions. vanguard formations advance through city streets while maintaining continuous radium weapon fire that contaminates entire blocks, forcing enemy defenders to evacuate positions or suffer progressive radiation exposure that degrades their combat effectiveness. The confined spaces typical of urban environments enhance the effectiveness of radium contamination, as atmospheric circulation patterns concentrate radioactive particles within buildings and underground areas. The specialized equipment carried by vanguard forces for urban operations includes enhanced auspex systems capable of penetrating building materials to identify concealed enemies, while their radium weapons receive modifications that optimize contamination dispersal within enclosed spaces. Breaching charges and demolition equipment enable rapid movement through fortified structures, while emergency medical systems provide treatment for combat injuries that might occur during close-quarters engagements. Communication systems receive urban-specific modifications that maintain network connectivity despite electromagnetic interference from building materials and enemy jamming attempts. Void warfare capabilities of vanguard formations enable effective operations aboard spacecraft and orbital installations, where conventional forces might struggle with environmental hazards and confined spaces. Their radiation resistance proves particularly valuable in void environments, where cosmic radiation and reactor leakage create hazardous conditions for unprotected personnel, while their sealed armor systems provide complete environmental protection during boarding actions or exterior hull operations. The electromagnetic effects of radium weapons prove especially devastating against spacecraft systems, as contamination can disable critical ship functions and create cascading failures throughout interconnected systems. The boarding action protocols developed for Vanguard Void operations emphasize rapid penetration of enemy vessels, followed by systematic contamination of critical areas that forces enemy crews to abandon their positions. Vanguard formations advance through ship corridors while maintaining concentrated radium fire that contaminates life support systems, command centers, and engineering spaces essential for vessel operation. The confined spaces aboard spacecraft enhance contamination effectiveness while limiting enemy movement options, creating tactical advantages that conventional boarding forces cannot replicate. Siege warfare applications of Vanguard doctrine focus on creating contaminated approach routes that enable friendly forces to advance against fortified positions, while denying enemy defenders the ability to maintain effective resistance. Vanguard formations establish forward positions within effective range of enemy fortifications, then maintain sustained radium fire that gradually contaminates the entire defensive zone. The cumulative effects of this contamination eventually force enemy defenders to abandon their positions or suffer debilitating radiation exposure that eliminates their combat effectiveness. The coordination between Vanguard siege operations and conventional Mechanicus forces requires careful planning that ensures optimal timing for assault phases while maximizing contamination effects against enemy defensive positions. Artillery support coordinates with Vanguard advance patterns to create overlapping contamination zones that channel enemy movement into predetermined engagement areas, while air support provides additional firepower during critical assault phases. Engineering assets establish supply lines and communication networks that maintain Vanguard operational effectiveness during extended siege operations. Defensive applications of Vanguard capabilities involve establishing contaminated zones that deny terrain to enemy forces while providing secure areas for friendly operations. Vanguard formations can create radioactive barriers across likely enemy approach routes, forcing opposing forces to either accept radiation exposure or seek alternate routes that may prove more vulnerable to Mechanicus defensive systems. The persistent nature of radium contamination creates area denial effects that continue long after the initial engagement, providing ongoing tactical advantages that conventional defensive systems cannot match. The logistical requirements for sustained vanguard operations involve specialized supply chains that provide the radioactive materials, maintenance supplies, and technical expertise necessary to maintain effectiveness during extended campaigns. Radium ammunition requires careful handling and storage procedures that prevent contamination of friendly personnel and equipment, while battle automata maintenance demands technical specialists capable of field repair and programming modification. Medical support includes radiation exposure monitoring and treatment capabilities that ensure Vanguard warriors remain combat effective despite the hazardous environments in which they operate. Beyond the conventional Skitarii formations that form the backbone of Mechanicus military might, there exist specialized warrior assassins whose very existence challenges the traditional boundaries between human consciousness and machine efficiency. The Cybernetic assassin cults represent the most extreme manifestation of the Mechanicus philosophy regarding flesh weakness, creating killers whose bodies have been so extensively modified that they retain only the barest essence of their original human form. These shadow warriors operate according to doctrines that predate the formal establishment of the Adeptus Mechanicus, their traditions rooted in the ancient assassin guilds that served the tech clans of Mars during the Age of Strife. The Cybernetic infiltrators embody the Mechanicus approach to stealth warfare, serving as precision elimination specialists whose primary function involves the systematic removal of specific targets that conventional military forces cannot effectively engage. Unlike the broad-spectrum combat roles filled by Rangers and Vanguard formations, infiltrators operate according to highly specialized mission parameters that require them to penetrate enemy defensive positions, identify designated targets, and eliminate them without alerting surrounding forces to their presence. Their augmentations focus entirely on stealth capability and close-quarters lethality, creating warriors whose effectiveness depends upon remaining undetected until the moment they strike. The selection process for Cybernetic infiltrator candidates differs significantly from the recruitment methods used for standard Skitarii forces, emphasizing psychological profiles that indicate compatibility with extended isolation and independent operation rather than the group cohesion that characterizes conventional military service. Potential infiltrators typically demonstrate exceptional spatial awareness, patience, and most importantly, the emotional detachment necessary to eliminate targets without hesitation or moral consideration. Many candidates come from the lower levels of Forge World society, technical menials, maintenance workers, or security personnel whose existing familiarity with complex mechanical systems provides the foundation for their eventual transformation. The augmentation procedures that create Cybernetic infiltrators involve systematic replacement of virtually every organic system with mechanical alternatives specifically designed for stealth operations. The process begins with complete skeletal reinforcement using lightweight alloys that provide enhanced structural integrity while reducing overall body mass, allowing for improved agility and reduced noise generation during movement. Muscle tissue undergoes replacement with synthetic fiber bundles that eliminate the metabolic requirements associated with organic tissue while providing superior strength and endurance characteristics. Neural modification represents the most extensive aspect of infiltrator transformation, involving installation of specialized cogitator systems that process tactical information and target identification data while suppressing emotional responses that might compromise mission effectiveness. These neural implants include enhanced memory storage capabilities that allow infiltrators to retain detailed information about target locations, security procedures, and extraction routes without the degradation that affects organic memory systems. The implants also incorporate threat assessment protocols that automatically prioritize targets according to strategic value and elimination difficulty. The sensory modifications applied to Cybernetic infiltrators create detection capabilities that far exceed those of baseline humans or even standard Skitarii forces. Their optical systems incorporate multiple vision modes that provide effective operation in complete darkness, while thermal imaging capabilities reveal heat signatures through solid barriers and concealment materials. Sound dampening modifications eliminate the acoustic signatures associated with their mechanical components, while specialized olfactory sensors can detect chemical traces that reveal enemy positions or identify specific individuals through unique biochemical markers. Neurostatic aura generators represent one of the most sophisticated pieces of equipment carried by Skitarian infiltrators, creating localized electromagnetic interference fields that disrupt enemy communication systems and targeting equipment within their immediate vicinity. These devices generate precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses that interfere with electronic systems without causing permanent damage, creating temporary blind spots in enemy sensor networks that infiltrators can exploit to approach their targets undetected. The aura generators operate continuously during stealth operations, requiring careful power management to maintain effectiveness throughout extended missions. The flechette blasters carried by Skitarian infiltrators provide close-range firepower specifically designed for rapid target elimination without alerting nearby enemies to their presence. These weapons fire clouds of micro-projectiles that deliver massive trauma to organic targets while producing minimal noise signatures that might compromise stealth operations. The ammunition contains specialized fragmenting rounds that maximize tissue damage while minimizing overpenetration effects that could endanger mission security or cause collateral damage to sensitive equipment in the target area. Taser goads serve as backup weapons for infiltrator units, providing non-lethal incapacitation options that enable target capture rather than elimination when intelligence gathering requirements take precedence over assassination objectives. These weapons generate controlled electrical discharges that can render targets unconscious without causing permanent injury, while their integrated neural interface systems allow for direct data extraction from enemy personnel who possess valuable intelligence. The electrical discharge effects prove particularly effective against enemy personnel wearing powered armor or cybernetic enhancement systems. The stealth systems that define Skitarian infiltrator operations extend far beyond simple camouflage to encompass comprehensive concealment capabilities that render them effectively invisible to most detection methods employed by enemy forces. Chainlialine integration into their synthetic skin provides adaptive camouflage that automatically adjusts to match surrounding environmental conditions, while electromagnetic shielding systems mask the electronic emissions generated by their internal augmentations. Sound dampening modifications eliminate footfall noise and mechanical operation sounds that might reveal their presence to enemy sentries. Mission profiles for Skitarian infiltrator operations typically involve extended periods of reconnaissance and target assessment, followed by brief, violent elimination phases that remove designated threats before enemy forces can respond effectively. Infiltrators deploy individually or in small teams to minimize detection risks, using their stealth capabilities to penetrate enemy defensive perimeters and establish observation positions within target areas. Their enhanced sensory systems allow for detailed surveillance of enemy activities, communication patterns, and security procedures that inform the tactical planning for subsequent elimination operations. Target prioritization protocols programmed into infiltrator neural systems emphasize the elimination of enemy command personnel, technical specialists, and communication operators whose removal can disrupt enemy coordination and reduce defensive effectiveness. These protocols include comprehensive databases containing identification information for known enemy leaders, technical personnel, and other high-value targets whose elimination would provide maximum tactical advantage. The systems automatically update target priorities based on changing battlefield conditions and intelligence gathered during reconnaissance operations. Skitarian Ruststalkers represent the close combat specialists within the assassin cults, serving as shock assault troops whose primary function involves the systematic destruction of enemy equipment and fortified positions through direct engagement rather than stealth infiltration. These warriors undergo augmentation procedures that emphasize physical combat capability and armor penetration rather than the stealth modifications that characterize infiltrator forces. Their role within Mechanicus tactical doctrine involves situations where stealth approaches prove ineffective and direct confrontation becomes necessary to achieve mission objectives. The transformation process for Skitarian Ruststalker candidates involves extensive skeletal and muscular modification that creates warriors capable of engaging heavily armored enemies in close quarters combat. Their bones receive reinforcement with adamantium alloys that provide structural integrity, capable of withstanding the stresses generated by their enhanced strength systems, while synthetic muscle bundles deliver physical power that exceeds the capabilities of unaugmented humans by several orders of magnitude. These modifications enable Ruststalkers to tear through reinforced barriers, engage armored vehicles in hand-to-hand combat, and survive impacts that would prove fatal to conventional infantry. Transonic weaponry carried by Skitarian Ruststalkers represents some of the most sophisticated close combat equipment available within the Mechanicus arsenal, utilizing controlled vibration frequencies to disrupt molecular bonds in enemy armor and equipment. These weapons generate ultrasonic pulses that can shatter ceramite armor plating, disable electronic systems, and cause catastrophic structural failure in enemy fortifications through resonance effects that exploit natural frequency vulnerabilities. The weapons operate silently from the perspective of human hearing, producing only the distinctive high-pitched whine that has become associated with Ruststalker attacks. Cordclaw appendages integrated into Ruststalker combat systems provide specialized cutting tools designed for precision dismantling of enemy equipment and fortifications. These retractable blade assemblies contain monomolecular cutting edges that can slice through virtually any material encountered on the battlefield, while their articulated design allows for complex manipulation tasks that enable detailed sabotage operations. The Cordclaws incorporate feedback systems that provide tactile information about material density and structural integrity, allowing Ruststalkers to identify optimal cutting points for maximum damage effectiveness. The combat doctrine governing Ruststalker operations emphasizes rapid advance into close quarters engagement range, followed by systematic destruction of enemy assets through concentrated application of their specialized weaponry. Ruststalker formations typically advance under cover of supporting fire from conventional Skitarii units, using their enhanced agility and armor systems to close distance with enemy positions while minimizing exposure to defensive fire. Once within effective range, they employ their transonic weapons and cordclaws to eliminate enemy personnel and destroy critical equipment with mechanical precision. Princeps integration within Ruststalker formations provides tactical coordination and target prioritization that enables effective employment of these specialized assets within broader Mechanicus operations. These enhanced leaders possess neural modifications that allow them to coordinate multiple Ruststalker units simultaneously while maintaining awareness of overall battlefield conditions and strategic objectives. Their command systems include direct interface capabilities with individual Ruststalker warriors that enable real-time tactical adjustment and mission parameter modification as battlefield conditions evolve. The selection criteria for Skitarian transformation candidates reflect the extreme nature of the modifications required to create effective assassin warriors, emphasizing physical and psychological characteristics that indicate compatibility with the extensive augmentation procedures involved. Candidates must demonstrate exceptional physical conditioning that provides the foundation for cybernetic enhancement, while psychological evaluation focuses on identifying individuals capable of functioning effectively despite the emotional suppression and behavioral modification that accompanies their transformation. The process eliminates most traces of individual personality and human emotional response, creating warriors whose primary motivation involves mission completion rather than personal survival or satisfaction. Medical compatibility represents another critical factor in candidate selection, as the extensive nature of Skitarian augmentation requires individuals whose genetic makeup and physiological characteristics support successful integration with cybernetic systems. Candidates undergo comprehensive biological analysis that evaluates their immune response patterns, neural plasticity, and cellular regeneration capabilities to determine their likelihood of surviving the transformation process. Those who fail these assessments typically find themselves redirected toward other forms of Mechanicus service or processed into servitor components. The transformation process itself involves multiple surgical cycles that systematically replace organic systems with mechanical alternatives according to carefully planned schedules that maintain the candidate's viability throughout the procedure. Initial phases focus on skeletal reinforcement and major organ replacement, while subsequent cycles address sensory enhancement, neural modification, and specialized equipment integration. Each surgical phase requires extensive recovery periods that allow for proper healing and system integration before the next modification cycle can commence safely. Psychological conditioning accompanies the physical transformation process, involving systematic suppression of emotional responses and individual personality traits that might interfere with mission effectiveness. Candidates undergo intensive indoctrination in Mechanicus doctrine while simultaneously receiving neural programming that emphasizes absolute obedience to command authority and complete dedication to assigned objectives. The conditioning process eliminates most traces of human empathy, fear, and individual desire, creating warriors whose primary motivation involves successful mission completion, regardless of personal cost or moral consideration. Cult organization within individual Forge worlds reflects the secretive nature of Skitarian operations and their specialized role within the broader Mechanicus military hierarchy. Skitarian units typically operate under direct control of senior tech priests who possess the security clearance and technical knowledge necessary to deploy these assets effectively while maintaining operational security. The organizational structure emphasizes compartmentalized command systems that limit knowledge of Skitarian capabilities and deployment patterns to personnel with legitimate operational requirements. Training facilities for Skitarian forces exist within heavily secured areas of major Forge worlds, isolated from conventional Skitarii training areas and accessible only to authorized personnel. These facilities contain specialized equipment designed to develop the unique combat skills required for assassin operations, including stealth training environments, close-quarters combat simulators, and target identification systems that prepare Skitarians for their operational roles. The training programs emphasize practical skill development rather than theoretical knowledge, focusing on the specific techniques and procedures required for successful mission completion. Semi-autonomous operational status granted to Skitarian units reflects their specialized role and the need for tactical flexibility during complex assassination and sabotage missions. Unlike conventional Skitarii forces that operate under direct command control, Skitarian units receive mission parameters and objectives that allow for significant tactical discretion in execution methods and timing. This autonomy enables them to adapt to changing battlefield conditions and exploit tactical opportunities that rigid command structures might not accommodate effectively. The maintenance requirements for Skitarian warriors involve specialized technical procedures that exceed the complexity of standard Skitarii support operations, requiring dedicated tech priest specialists who possess the knowledge and equipment necessary to service their advanced augmentation systems. These maintenance cycles include calibration of stealth systems, weapon alignment procedures, and neural interface optimization that ensures peak performance during operational deployments. The specialized nature of Skitarian equipment means that field maintenance capabilities remain limited, requiring regular return to properly equipped facilities for comprehensive service and upgrade procedures. Intelligence gathering capabilities provided by Skitarian units extend their utility beyond simple assassination missions to encompass reconnaissance and surveillance operations that support broader Mechanicus strategic objectives. Their stealth systems and enhanced sensory capabilities enable them to penetrate enemy installations and gather detailed intelligence about defensive preparations, equipment capabilities, and personnel dispositions that conventional reconnaissance forces cannot obtain safely. This intelligence proves particularly valuable when planning major offensive operations or assessing threats to Forge World installations. Counterintelligence operations conducted by Skitarian forces focus on eliminating enemy agents and disrupting hostile intelligence networks that might threaten Mechanicus security interests. Their assassination capabilities prove particularly effective against enemy spies, saboteurs, and infiltrators who might otherwise compromise Mechanicus operations or steal valuable technological information. The psychological impact of successful counterintelligence operations often exceeds their direct tactical value, as enemy organizations must allocate significant resources to security measures that reduce their operational effectiveness. The operational doctrine of the Adeptus Mechanicus extends far beyond the augmented warriors that form its primary military assets, encompassing a comprehensive array of war machines that serve as mobile platforms for the most devastating weaponry available to Imperial forces. These vehicles represent the pinnacle of Forge World engineering capability, combining millennia of accumulated technical knowledge with the sacred principles that govern all Mechanicus technology. Each war machine serves as both a tactical asset and a mobile shrine to the Omnissiah, its machine spirit requiring constant veneration and maintenance to ensure optimal battlefield performance. The Onager Dunnercrawler stands as the primary heavy support platform within Skitarii formations, its distinctive silhouette dominated by the massive weapon systems that provide long-range fire support for advancing infantry forces. The vehicle's design reflects the Mechanicus philosophy of technological superiority, featuring a compact chassis that houses sophisticated targeting systems, power generation equipment, and the crew interface mechanisms necessary for optimal human-machine integration. The Dunnercrawler's legs provide superior mobility across difficult terrain compared to conventional tracked or wheeled vehicles, while their articulated design allows for precise positioning that maximizes weapon effectiveness. The neutron laser configuration represents the most devastating anti-armor capability available to Mechanicus forces, generating coherent energy beams that can penetrate the heaviest enemy armor through controlled application of exotic particle physics. The weapon system requires massive power generation capabilities that push the Dunnercrawler's reactor systems to their operational limits, creating distinctive energy signatures that announce its presence across battlefield zones. The neutron laser's focusing array contains precision-crafted lens systems that concentrate the energy beam into a coherent stream capable of boring through fortress walls or disabling enemy super heavy vehicles with single shots. Target acquisition for neutron laser systems relies on sophisticated auspex arrays that can identify priority targets through smoke, electromagnetic interference, and active camouflage systems employed by enemy forces. The targeting cogitators process multiple data streams simultaneously, calculating optimal firing solutions that account for target movement, atmospheric conditions, and energy output requirements necessary to achieve successful penetration. The weapon's machine spirit interfaces directly with the Dunnercrawler's crew through neural link systems that provide instantaneous target designation and firing authorization protocols. The Icarus Array configuration transforms the Dunnercrawler into a dedicated anti-aircraft platform capable of engaging enemy aircraft across multiple altitude ranges and approach vectors. The system incorporates 4 separate weapon mounts that can operate independently or coordinate their fire to saturate specific airspace zones with overlapping defensive coverage. Each mount contains sophisticated tracking systems that maintain target locks despite enemy evasive maneuvers, while the integrated ammunition feed systems ensure sustained fire rates necessary for effective air defense operations. Targeting protocols for Icarus Array systems prioritize threats according to proximity, aircraft type, and potential damage capability, automatically engaging the most dangerous targets while maintaining awareness of secondary threats that might require immediate attention. The system's machine spirit processes radar signatures, thermal emissions, and electromagnetic profiles to identify specific aircraft types and predict their likely attack patterns. This information feeds directly into firing solutions that position defensive fire to intercept enemy aircraft at optimal engagement ranges, where the weapons achieve maximum effectiveness. The crew integration systems that enable effective Dunnercrawler operation represent sophisticated examples of human-machine interface technology that allows organic operators to merge temporarily with the vehicle's machine spirit during combat operations. The primary gunner undergoes neural link connection that provides direct access to weapon targeting systems, ammunition status, and power management controls through thought command interfaces that operate faster than conventional manual controls. This integration creates a symbiotic relationship where human tactical awareness combines with mechanical precision to achieve firing accuracy impossible through conventional gunnery methods. Support crew members interface with the Dunnercrawler's locomotion systems, sensor arrays, and defensive equipment through similar neural link connections that distribute operational responsibility across multiple operators while maintaining coordinated vehicle function. The driver's consciousness expands to encompass the vehicle's leg actuators, balance systems, and terrain analysis capabilities, allowing for complex maneuvers across difficult ground that would challenge conventional vehicle operators. The sensor operator maintains awareness of battlefield conditions through direct connection to AUSPEC systems, communication networks, and threat identification protocols. The machine spirit inhabiting each Dunnercrawler possesses accumulated battlefield experience from previous engagements, retaining tactical knowledge that influences its operational preferences and combat effectiveness. Veteran machine spirits develop distinctive behavioral patterns that reflect their combat history, showing preference for specific targeting priorities or defensive positions based on successful previous engagements. This accumulated experience creates vehicles that become more effective over time, their machine spirits learning to anticipate enemy tactics and coordinate more effectively with their human crews. Maintenance rituals performed on Dunnercrawler systems combine practical mechanical service with spiritual observances that honor the machine's spirit and ensure continued cooperation between organic and mechanical elements. Tech priests conducting these ceremonies apply sacred oils to critical components while reciting binary hymns that invoke the Omnissiah's blessing upon weapon systems, power generation equipment, and crew interface mechanisms. The rituals include diagnostic procedures that verify system performance while simultaneously reinforcing the spiritual bonds that enable effective human-machine integration. The Scorpius hover tank family represents the Mechanicus approach to rapid deployment and fire support, utilizing anti-gravity technology that provides superior mobility across diverse terrain types while maintaining the firepower necessary for effective battlefield support. The hover propulsion system eliminates the ground contact requirements that limit conventional vehicles, allowing Scorpius tanks to traverse water obstacles, soft ground, and vertical surfaces that would prove impassable for tracked or wheeled platforms. This mobility advantage enables rapid repositioning during combat operations and access to firing positions unavailable to conventional armor units. The Scorpius disintegrator variant serves as the primary fire support platform, mounting multiple weapon systems designed to provide sustained firepower against enemy infantry and light vehicle formations. The vehicle's main armament consists of ferromite cannon systems that fire high-velocity projectiles capable of penetrating most personal armor while maintaining sufficient rate of fire to engage multiple targets effectively. Secondary weapon mounts provide additional firepower through Cogni's heavy stubber systems that can engage infantry targets or provide defensive fire against enemy aircraft. Bellero's energy cannon configurations available for disintegrator variants provide alternative armament options that emphasize energy weapon technology over conventional projectile systems. These weapons generate focused energy beams that can disable enemy electronics while delivering thermal damage sufficient to incapacitate organic targets or ignite combustible materials. The energy cannon systems draw power directly from the vehicle's main reactor, requiring careful power management to maintain optimal performance during sustained engagements while preserving energy reserves for propulsion and defensive systems. The Scorpius Junorider transport variant prioritizes personnel carrying capacity over heavy armament, providing rapid deployment capabilities for Skitarii formations that require quick insertion into combat zones or extraction from dangerous situations. The vehicle's troop compartment incorporates life support systems, communication equipment, and medical facilities necessary to maintain passenger effectiveness during transport operations. The compartment design accommodates the specialized equipment and augmentation requirements of Skitarii warriors, while providing protection against environmental hazards and enemy fire. Passenger integration systems within Junorider transports allow embarked Skitarii forces to maintain tactical awareness and communication connectivity during movement, preventing the isolation that typically affects transported infantry units. Neural link connections enable passengers to access the vehicle's sensor systems, providing real-time battlefield intelligence that allows for tactical planning during approach to target areas. The integration systems also allow passengers to contribute to vehicle defense through coordinated fire from integral weapon mounts designed for passenger operation. Disembarkation procedures for Junorider operations emphasize rapid deployment that minimizes exposure time while maximizing tactical coordination between transported forces and their vehicle support. The transport's rear ramp system allows for quick exit under fire, while side access ports provide alternative egress options when tactical situations require dispersed deployment patterns. Communication systems maintain contact between disembarked forces and their transport vehicle, enabling coordination of fire support and extraction operations as battlefield conditions evolve. The hover propulsion technology that defines Scorpius performance characteristics requires sophisticated maintenance procedures that combine mechanical service with the spiritual observances necessary to maintain machine-spirit cooperation. The anti-gravity generators contain delicate components that must be precisely calibrated to maintain optimal lift characteristics, while the power distribution systems require constant monitoring to prevent overload conditions that could disable the vehicle during critical operations. Tech priests performing maintenance duties apply sacred oils to generator components while reciting specific liturgies that honor the machine spirits responsible for propulsion system operation. Archaeopter aircraft represent the Mechanicus approach to air support and reconnaissance, combining advanced aerodynamic design with the weapon systems and sensor equipment necessary for effective battlefield support operations. These aircraft utilize sophisticated flight control systems that interface directly with pilot neural implants, creating human-machine integration that enables complex maneuvers impossible for conventional aircraft operators to achieve. The Archaeopter's modular design allows for mission-specific configuration changes that optimize the aircraft for different operational requirements while maintaining overall flight performance characteristics. The Archaeopter Fusilier variant serves as the primary air-to-ground attack platform, mounting heavy weapon systems designed to engage enemy armor and fortified positions from aerial attack vectors that conventional ground-based weapons cannot achieve. The aircraft's main armament includes twin Cogni's heavy stubbers that provide sustained fire against infantry targets, while chaff launcher systems offer defensive capabilities against enemy anti-aircraft missiles. The Fusilier's armor plating provides protection against small arms fire and shrapnel while maintaining the weight limitations necessary for effective flight performance. Reconnaissance missions conducted by Archaeopter Transvector variants emphasize sensor capability and endurance over heavy armament, utilizing advanced Auspex systems that can identify enemy positions and analyze battlefield conditions from extended ranges. The aircraft sensor suite includes electromagnetic detection equipment, thermal imaging systems, and communication intercept capabilities that provide comprehensive intelligence gathering across multiple information domains. The extended fuel capacity and efficient engine design enable prolonged reconnaissance flights that maintain surveillance over large operational areas without requiring frequent refueling stops. Pilot integration systems within Archaeopter cockpits create direct neural connections between human operators and aircraft control systems that enable response times and maneuvering capability exceeding those of conventional pilots. The pilot's consciousness expands to encompass flight control surfaces, engine management systems, and weapon targeting equipment through neural interface connections that process information faster than conventional instrument displays can convey. This integration allows for complex aerobatic maneuvers and precision weapon delivery that combines human tactical judgment with mechanical execution precision. The machine spirits inhabiting Archaeopter aircraft develop flight characteristics and combat preferences based on their operational experience, creating aircraft that exhibit distinctive behavioral patterns during different mission types. Veteran machine spirits learn to anticipate pilot intentions and coordinate aircraft responses that enhance overall performance effectiveness. These accumulated behavioral patterns create aircraft that become more responsive and effective over time, their machine spirits developing tactical preferences that complement their human operators' flying techniques and combat approaches. Ground support coordination between Archaeopter aircraft and surface forces requires sophisticated communication protocols that enable effective target designation and fire support delivery, despite the speed differentials between aerial and ground-based units. Forward air controllers among Skitarii formations utilize specialized equipment that provides direct communication links with supporting aircraft while maintaining integration with ground force command networks. Target designation systems allow ground forces to mark priority targets for aerial attack while providing real-time updates about friendly force positions and movement patterns. The integration protocols governing all Mechanicus war machines emphasize the symbiotic relationship between human consciousness and machine spirit intelligence that defines optimal operational effectiveness. These protocols establish standardized procedures for crew neural interface connection, machine spirit communication, and tactical coordination that ensure consistent performance across different vehicle types and operational scenarios. The protocols include emergency procedures for interface disconnection, backup control systems, and manual override capabilities that maintain vehicle function when primary integration systems suffer damage or malfunction. Neural interface calibration procedures ensure optimal compatibility between individual crew members and their assigned vehicles, accounting for personal augmentation patterns and psychological characteristics that might affect integration effectiveness. Each crew member undergoes compatibility testing that evaluates their neural response patterns, interface stability, and tactical decision-making capability under integrated operation conditions. This testing identifies optimal crew assignments while providing baseline measurements that enable performance monitoring and system optimization throughout operational deployment. Machine spirit communication protocols establish standardized methods for human operators to interact with vehicle intelligence systems, ensuring consistent command interpretation and response patterns across different operational scenarios. These protocols include specific binary cant phrases, neural interface command sequences, and behavioral cues that enable effective communication between organic and mechanical intelligence systems. The protocols emphasize mutual respect between human and machine consciousness, while maintaining clear command authority structures necessary for effective tactical coordination. The battlefield coordination systems linking individual war machines into cohesive tactical formations utilize quantum-encrypted communication networks that enable instantaneous information sharing across entire armored formations. These networks allow for coordinated movement patterns, synchronized weapon firing, and tactical adaptation that operates faster than conventional military communication systems can achieve. The integration extends to include infantry support elements, creating combined arms formations that leverage both mechanical firepower and organic tactical flexibility to achieve battlefield objectives that neither force type could accomplish independently. The vast network of forge worlds that spans the galaxy represents the industrial and military backbone of the Adeptus Mechanicus, each world developing distinct traditions, specializations, and military doctrines that reflect their unique histories and resource endowments. While the Treaty of Mars established fundamental organizational principles that govern all Mechanicus territories, the practical implementation of these guidelines has evolved differently across individual worlds, creating a diverse array of Skitarii formations whose capabilities and tactical approaches vary significantly based on their origins. These variations reflect not merely different interpretations of sacred doctrine, but practical adaptations to local conditions, available resources, and the specific threats that each forge world has faced throughout its history. Mars itself stands as the archetypal forge world and the spiritual center of the Cult Mechanicus, maintaining the largest and most technologically advanced Skitarii legions in existence. The Red Planet's status as the original home of the Adeptus Mechanicus grants its military forces access to the most sacred standard template constructs, the finest manufacturing facilities, and the accumulated knowledge of millennia of technological development. Martian Skitarii legions represent the orthodox standard against which all other Forge World forces are measured, their equipment patterns serving as templates for production across the galaxy, while their tactical doctrines establish the baseline approaches that other worlds adapt to their specific requirements. The Skitarii forces maintained by Mars reflect the planet's role as both the administrative center of the Mechanicus and the primary repository of sacred knowledge that defines the cult's technological superiority. Martian legions receive priority access to newly developed weapon systems, advanced augmentation procedures, and the most sophisticated war machines produced within Mechanicus territories. This technological advantage extends beyond mere equipment superiority to encompass training programs that incorporate the most current tactical doctrines, maintenance procedures that ensure optimal equipment performance, and command structures that reflect the accumulated military experience of the galaxy's oldest forge world. The organizational structure of Martian Skitarii forces emphasizes standardization and doctrinal purity over the specialized adaptations that characterize other forge worlds, creating military formations that serve as living embodiments of orthodox Mechanicus principles. Martian Rangers undergo augmentation procedures that follow precisely the patterns established by the earliest tech priests, their optical systems calibrated according to specifications that have remained unchanged for millennia. The weapons they carry represent the definitive patterns for galvanic rifles, radium carbines, and other standard Skitarii armaments, manufactured according to sacred templates that ensure consistent performance across all deployment scenarios. Vanguard formations from Mars demonstrate the orthodox approach to close-quarters combat and technological warfare, their radiation resistance modifications following the precise specifications developed during the earliest conflicts on the Red Planet's surface. These warriors carry radium weaponry manufactured in the same facilities that produced the first such weapons, their ammunition prepared according to ritual procedures that have been refined over centuries of continuous production. The contamination effects achieved by Martian radium weapons serve as the standard against which other forge worlds measure their own production capabilities. The command hierarchies governing Martian Skitarii reflect the complex political structure of the Red Planet itself, with different legions answering to various fabricator locums who oversee specific industrial districts or research facilities. This organizational approach creates multiple competing command structures that must coordinate their activities while maintaining the independence necessary for their specialized functions. The competition between different Martian factions drives continuous improvement in equipment design, tactical innovation, and operational effectiveness as each group seeks to demonstrate its superiority over rival organizations. Mars maintains extensive training facilities that serve not only its own Skitarii forces, but also provide instruction for military personnel from other Forge worlds seeking to learn orthodox Mechanicus doctrine. These facilities contain comprehensive libraries of tactical knowledge, weapon specifications, and augmentation procedures that represent the accumulated military wisdom of the entire Adeptus Mechanicus. The training programs emphasize theoretical understanding as well as practical application, ensuring that graduates possess both the technical knowledge necessary for equipment maintenance and the tactical expertise required for effective battlefield performance. The Forge world of Lucius has developed Skitarii formations that specialize in defensive warfare and siege operations, their military doctrine shaped by the planet's history of prolonged conflicts and its strategic position along critical trade routes. Lucius produces some of the most sophisticated defensive technologies available within the Imperium, including void shield generators, fortress construction equipment, and the specialized weapon systems designed for static defensive positions. This technological expertise directly influences the training and equipment of Lucian Skitarii forces, creating military formations that excel at fortification construction, siege defense, and the systematic reduction of enemy strongpoints. The augmentation procedures applied to Lucian Skitarii emphasize endurance and defensive capability over the mobility characteristics that define other Forge world traditions. Lucian warriors receive enhanced structural reinforcement that allows them to withstand prolonged bombardment and operate effectively within damaged fortifications, where conventional forces might suffer debilitating casualties. Their respiratory systems incorporate advanced filtration capabilities designed for operation within smoke-filled environments and areas contaminated by chemical weapons, while their optical systems feature specialized modes optimized for target identification through defensive firing ports and camouflaged positions. Lucian weapon manufacturing focuses on systems designed for sustained defensive fire rather than the rapid advance tactics favored by other Forge worlds. Their galvanic rifles feature enhanced cooling systems that prevent overheating during prolonged engagements, while their radium carbines incorporate extended magazines and improved reliability mechanisms that ensure consistent performance during siege operations. The ammunition produced by Lucian facilities emphasizes armor penetration and stopping power over the contamination effects that characterize Martian production, reflecting the defensive doctrine that prioritizes immediate target neutralization over area denial effects. The tactical doctrine developed by Lucian forces emphasizes methodical advance and systematic destruction of enemy positions through coordinated application of overwhelming firepower. Lucian Skitarii formations advance in carefully coordinated waves that establish successive firing positions, each providing covering fire for the next while maintaining interlocking fields of fire that prevent enemy counterattacks. This approach reflects the patient, methodical mindset that characterizes Lucian industrial operations, creating military formations that prefer careful planning and resource conservation over rapid assault tactics. Siege warfare expertise developed by Lucian forces extends beyond defensive operations to encompass offensive siege techniques that enable effective reduction of enemy fortifications. Lucian engineers produce specialized breaching equipment, tunneling systems, and siege artillery that can systematically dismantle enemy defensive positions while minimizing friendly casualties. Their Skitarii forces train extensively in urban warfare techniques, building clearance procedures, and the complex logistics required for sustained siege operations in hostile territory. The Forge world of Metallica maintains Skitarii legions that specialize in void warfare and rapid expansion operations, their military doctrine shaped by the planet's aggressive colonization policies and its extensive fleet operations. Metalik and Skitarii undergo specialized training for boarding actions, void combat, and the unique challenges associated with fighting in zero-gravity environments, where conventional tactics prove ineffective. Their augmentations include enhanced magnetic systems that enable secure movement across spacecraft hulls, sealed respiratory systems for extended void exposure, and specialized weapons designed for use in pressurized environments. Metalican expansion policies create constant demand for military forces capable of establishing control over newly discovered worlds, hostile space stations, and the various threats encountered during explorator fleet operations. This operational tempo drives continuous innovation in rapid deployment techniques, assault coordination, and the specialized equipment required for effective operations in unknown environments. Metalik and Skitarii formations develop expertise in reconnaissance, initial assault operations, and the establishment of secure beachheads that enable follow-on forces to complete planetary conquest or facility occupation. The aggressive nature of Metalican military doctrine influences every aspect of their Skitarii organization, from individual warrior training to strategic deployment patterns that emphasize rapid response and overwhelming initial assault capability. Metalican commanders prefer decisive action over prolonged campaigns, seeking to resolve conflicts through concentrated application of superior technology and tactical expertise rather than extended attrition warfare. This approach requires Skitarii forces capable of independent operation across extended distances from their supporting infrastructure, creating self-sufficient military formations that can maintain effectiveness despite limited resupply opportunities. Void warfare specialization developed by Metalican forces creates unique tactical capabilities that prove valuable during fleet actions, space station assaults, and the various combat scenarios encountered during interstellar travel. Metalican Skitarii train extensively in boarding action techniques, including breach and clear procedures, corridor fighting tactics, and the specialized equipment required for effective combat within the confined spaces typical of spacecraft interiors. Their weapons receive modifications that optimize performance in pressurized environments while minimizing the risk of hull breaches that could compromise both attacking and defending forces. The deployment patterns used by Metalik and Skitarii reflect their Forge World's commitment to aggressive expansion and rapid response to emerging threats across multiple star systems. Metalican legions maintain forward deployment bases throughout their operational sectors, pre-positioning equipment and personnel that enable rapid response to developing situations without the delays associated with mobilization from the home world. This distributed deployment approach requires sophisticated logistics networks and communication systems that maintain coordination across vast distances while providing the flexibility necessary for independent operations. Ryza represents the Forge World most renowned for its weapon crafting expertise, producing some of the finest plasma weaponry and high-energy combat systems available within the Imperium. The planet's Skitarii forces carry equipment that represents the pinnacle of Mechanicus weapons technology, their plasma guns and other energy weapons manufactured according to specifications that exceed the capabilities of standard patterns produced elsewhere. This technological superiority comes at the cost of increased maintenance requirements and specialized training that limits the widespread adoption of Ryzen weapon patterns, but provides devastating battlefield effectiveness for forces equipped with these advanced systems. The augmentation procedures applied to Ryzen Skitarii include specialized radiation hardening that enables safe operation of plasma weaponry without the protective equipment required by forces from other Forge worlds. Ryzen warriors receive enhanced heat dissipation systems that prevent thermal damage from plasma weapon discharge, while their internal monitoring systems provide real-time assessment of radiation exposure levels that enables optimal weapon employment without compromising operator safety. These modifications allow Ryzen forces to maintain higher rates of plasma weapon fire than conventional formations, while operating in environments where plasma discharge creates hazardous conditions for unprotected personnel. Ryzen weapon manufacturing incorporates quality control procedures that exceed the standards employed by other Forge worlds, with each weapon receiving individual testing and calibration that ensures optimal performance characteristics. Ryzen plasma guns feature enhanced containment systems that reduce the risk of catastrophic overload while maintaining maximum energy output, while their cooling systems incorporate advanced heat dissipation technology that enables sustained fire rates impossible with standard plasma weapon patterns. The ammunition produced for Ryzen energy weapons utilizes refined plasma generation techniques that create more stable energy discharges with improved armor penetration characteristics. The tactical doctrine developed by Ryzen forces emphasizes aggressive engagement at medium ranges, where plasma weapons achieve maximum effectiveness against enemy armor while maintaining sufficient standoff distance to avoid return fire from shorter-range weapons. Ryzen Skitarii formations advance in coordinated groups that concentrate plasma weapon fire against priority targets, using their superior firepower to eliminate enemy heavy weapons and armored vehicles before engaging lighter targets with conventional weapons. This approach requires careful coordination and target prioritization to prevent ammunition depletion during critical engagement phases. The specialized maintenance requirements associated with Ryzen plasma weaponry create unique logistical challenges that influence deployment patterns and operational planning for forces equipped with these advanced systems. Ryzen Skitarii formations require dedicated technical support personnel who possess the specialized knowledge necessary for plasma weapon maintenance, calibration, and repair under field conditions. The complexity of these weapons limits their deployment to operations where proper technical support can be maintained, while emergency procedures provide backup capabilities when primary maintenance systems become unavailable during extended campaigns. The variations between different Forge World Skitarii traditions create both opportunities and challenges for Mechanicus military planners, who must coordinate operations involving forces from multiple worlds with different equipment patterns, tactical doctrines, and operational capabilities. Joint operations require careful planning that accounts for compatibility issues between different weapon systems, communication protocols, and command structures, while leveraging the specialized capabilities that each Forge world contributes to the overall mission effectiveness. The diversity of Skitarii capabilities enables the Mechanicus to field forces optimized for specific operational requirements while maintaining overall strategic flexibility across diverse threat environments. The coordination challenges inherent in managing forces from multiple Forge worlds became catastrophically apparent during the galaxy-spanning civil war known as the Horus Heresy, when the fundamental unity of the Adeptus Mechanicus shattered along ideological lines that reflected deeper philosophical divisions within the Cult Mechanicus itself. The conflict began on Mars when Fabricator General Kelber had declared his allegiance to Warmaster Horus, believing that the Warmaster's rebellion offered opportunities for technological advancement and freedom from the restrictions imposed by the Treaty of Mars. This decision split the Red Planet's Skitarii legions between those who remained loyal to the Emperor and those who followed their supreme commander into heresy. The Schism of Mars created unprecedented tactical challenges as Skitarii formations that had trained together for decades suddenly found themselves facing identical forces equipped with the same weapons and familiar with the same tactical doctrines. Loyalist Rangers discovered that their chain-lialing cloaks provided little concealment against enemy Auspex operators who knew exactly what signatures to search for, while Vanguard formations found their radiation-hardened systems countered by enemies who possessed identical protection capabilities. The conflict devolved into a technological arms race as both sides attempted to develop countermeasures for equipment patterns that had previously been shared across all Martian forces. The loyalist Skitarii forces remaining faithful to the Emperor faced the additional challenge of operating without access to many of the most advanced manufacturing facilities on Mars, as Kelber Hal's supporters controlled the primary industrial districts that produced the most sophisticated weapons and equipment. Loyalist tech priests were forced to establish alternative production lines in smaller facilities, while simultaneously defending these installations against traitor forces who sought to eliminate their manufacturing capability entirely. The resulting equipment shortages forced Loyalist commanders to modify their tactical doctrines, emphasizing conservation of ammunition and careful target selection over the overwhelming firepower applications that characterized pre-heresy operations. Traitor Skitarii forces under Kelber Hal's command initially possessed significant advantages in terms of equipment access and manufacturing capacity, but these benefits came at the cost of ideological coherence that gradually undermined their military effectiveness. The Fabricator General's alliance with Chaos forces introduced corrupting influences that affected both the machine spirits inhabiting Mechanicus technology and the augmented consciousness of individual Skitarii warriors. Equipment began exhibiting unpredictable behavioral patterns as demonic entities infiltrated technological systems, while the neural interfaces that enabled human-machine integration became conduits for chaotic corruption that degraded tactical coordination and individual combat effectiveness. The siege of the Loyalist stronghold at Olympus Mons demonstrated both the devastating potential and fundamental limitations of civil war within the Mechanicus hierarchy. Traitor Skitarii formations equipped with the most advanced siege equipment available on Mars systematically reduced the mountain's defensive systems, while Loyalist forces responded with increasingly desperate countermeasures that sacrificed long-term strategic considerations for immediate tactical necessity. The prolonged bombardment created environmental hazards that affected both sides equally, as radiation from damaged reactors and toxic emissions from burning industrial facilities contaminated vast areas of the Martian surface. The arrival of Loyalist reinforcements from other Forge worlds highlighted the coordination difficulties that plagued Mechanicus forces throughout the heresy period. Skitarii legions from Lucius brought defensive expertise that proved valuable for fortifying Loyalist positions, but their equipment patterns proved incompatible with Martian supply systems, while their tactical doctrines emphasized static defense over the mobile operations required for effective siege warfare. Metalican forces provided void warfare specialists essential for controlling orbital approaches to Mars, but their aggressive tactical preferences conflicted with the methodical approaches favored by Martian commanders who sought to minimize damage to irreplaceable technological assets. The resolution of the Martian conflict came through external intervention rather than decisive victory by either side, as the Emperor's arrival with elements of the Legio Custodes and other Loyalist forces shifted the strategic balance sufficiently to enable the expulsion of traitor forces from the Red Planet. The aftermath of the conflict left Mars devastated, with entire industrial districts reduced to radioactive ruins, while the surviving Skitarii legions faced the massive task of rebuilding their shattered infrastructure, while simultaneously supporting the broader Imperial war effort against Horus's rebellion. The lessons learned during the Schism of Mars influenced Mechanicus military doctrine for millennia afterward, emphasizing the importance of ideological unity and the dangers inherent in allowing political divisions to undermine technological cooperation. Post-heresy reforms established new oversight mechanisms designed to prevent similar splits within individual Forge worlds, while creating redundant command structures that could maintain operational effectiveness even when senior leadership became compromised. The trauma of fighting against identical forces led to the development of new identification systems and tactical doctrines that emphasized adaptability over standardization. The defense of Forge world Lucius against elements of Hive Fleet Kraken in the late 41st millennium demonstrated the evolution of Skitarii tactics when facing the unique challenges posed by Tyrannid bioforms. The initial Tyrannid assault waves encountered defensive systems that had been optimized for conventional warfare against Imperial rebels or Xenos forces equipped with recognizable technology, creating tactical situations where standard Mechanicus doctrine proved inadequate against enemies that operated according to entirely different principles than those anticipated by orthodox military planning. Lucian Skitarii formations discovered that their traditional emphasis on defensive firepower and methodical advance provided significant advantages against Tyrannid swarm tactics, as their interlocking fields of fire could eliminate large numbers of smaller bioforms before they reached effective engagement range. However, the adaptive nature of Tyrannid evolution meant that subsequent assault waves incorporated biological modifications that countered the defensive measures that had proven effective during initial engagements. Hormagaunts developed enhanced speed and agility that enabled them to traverse killing zones more rapidly, while Termagants received improved ranged weapons that could engage Skitarii positions from greater distances. The radiation weapons that formed a cornerstone of Skitarii tactical doctrine created unexpected complications when deployed against Tyrannid forces, as the bioforms demonstrated remarkable resistance to contamination effects that would have proven devastating against conventional enemies. Tyrannid organisms possessed biological filtration systems that could process radioactive particles, while their rapid regeneration capabilities enabled them to recover from radiation exposure that would have incapacitated human opponents. The persistent contamination effects that normally provided long-term tactical advantages became liabilities when Tyrannid bioforms proved capable of operating within contaminated areas without significant performance degradation. The integration of battle automata with Skitarii formations proved particularly effective against Tyrannid swarm tactics, as the mechanical warriors could maintain optimal performance despite the psychological warfare effects that the hive mind employed against organic opponents. Castellan robots configured for anti-infantry operations delivered sustained firepower that could eliminate bioforms faster than the Tyrannids could replace them, while their radiation-hardened construction enabled them to operate within areas heavily contaminated by Skitarii weapons fire. The mechanical precision of battle automata targeting systems proved superior to organic reflexes when engaging the rapid, unpredictable movement patterns exhibited by many Tyrannid species. Sicarian assassin units deployed against Tyrannid forces faced unique challenges, as their stealth systems proved less effective against enemies that relied primarily on biological senses rather than technological detection methods. Tyrannid bioforms could track Sicarian infiltrators through pheromone trails and other biological signatures that chain-lialing cloaks could not mask, while the collective consciousness of the hive mind enabled rapid dissemination of information about Sicarian positions and capabilities across entire swarm formations. The specialized anti-personnel weapons carried by Sicarian units proved highly effective against individual bioforms, but lacked the area effect capabilities necessary for engaging swarm formations effectively. The adaptation of Lucian defensive doctrine to counter Tyrannid assault patterns involved significant modifications to standard Skitarii tactical procedures, emphasizing rapid redeployment and flexible response capabilities over the static defensive positions that had characterized pre-invasion planning. Lucian commanders learned to establish multiple fallback positions that could be abandoned when overrun while maintaining overall defensive integrity, creating defense-in-depth systems that forced Tyrannid forces to expend resources conquering positions that provided no strategic advantage. The methodical nature of Lucian military culture proved advantageous when developing countermeasures for Tyrannid adaptive evolution, as their systematic approach to problem-solving enabled effective responses to biological modifications that appeared in subsequent assault waves. The successful defense of Lucius required unprecedented cooperation between different Mechanicus factions and Imperial Guard forces, as the scale of the Tyrannid threat exceeded the capabilities of any single military organization. Skitarii formations provided technological expertise and specialized equipment that proved essential for identifying Tyrannid biological weaknesses, while Imperial Guard regiments contributed the numerical strength necessary for holding defensive positions against overwhelming enemy numbers. The coordination between these forces required extensive modification of standard communication protocols and tactical procedures to account for the significant differences in equipment, doctrine, and command structure between Mechanicus and conventional Imperial military organizations. The Moari Schism that erupted across multiple Forge worlds during the 38th Millennium demonstrated how ideological disputes within the Adeptus Mechanicus could create military conflicts that rivaled the devastation of the Horus Heresy itself. The schism began with disagreements over the proper interpretation of ancient technological artifacts discovered during explorator missions, with different factions developing incompatible theories about the sacred nature of certain standard template construct patterns. These theological disputes escalated into open warfare when competing Forge worlds began claiming exclusive rights to specific technological discoveries while denying access to rival factions. Skitarii forces found themselves deployed in conflicts where the enemy possessed nearly identical capabilities and equipment patterns, creating tactical situations that required constant innovation and adaptation to achieve battlefield success. The shared technological base that normally provided Mechanicus forces with overwhelming advantages against conventional enemies became a liability when both sides possessed equivalent capabilities in sensors, weapons, and defensive systems. Commanders were forced to develop new tactical doctrines that emphasized deception, misdirection, and the exploitation of minor technological differences that could provide decisive advantages during critical engagement phases. The Forge world Antioch developed specialized counter-Mechanicus tactics during the Moari Schism that emphasized electromagnetic warfare and the systematic disruption of enemy technological systems rather than direct confrontation with equivalent forces. Antioch Skitarii formations carried enhanced arc weaponry designed specifically for disabling enemy augmentations and equipment, while their defensive systems incorporated hardening measures that provided protection against similar attacks from opposing forces. The development of these specialized capabilities required significant modifications to standard Skitarii augmentation procedures and equipment patterns, creating forces that proved highly effective against other Mechanicus factions, but less capable when facing conventional enemies. The resolution of individual conflicts during the Moari Schism often depended upon the ability of competing factions to maintain their technological advantages through continuous innovation and adaptation, rather than decisive military victories that eliminated enemy forces entirely. Forge worlds that could develop new weapon systems, defensive technologies, or tactical innovations faster than their opponents gained temporary advantages that could be exploited for strategic gains before enemy forces adapted their own capabilities to counter these developments. This technological arms race drove rapid advancement in many areas of Mechanicus military science, while simultaneously creating enormous resource expenditures that weakened all participating factions. The participation of Skitarii forces in major imperial crusades demonstrated their effectiveness when properly integrated with conventional Imperial Guard formations and Space Marine chapters, despite the coordination challenges created by their specialized equipment and tactical doctrines. The Macharian Crusade saw extensive deployment of Skitarii legions from multiple Forge worlds, with their technological expertise proving essential for conquering worlds defended by sophisticated enemy technology or unusual environmental hazards that conventional Imperial forces could not overcome effectively. During the Sabbat Worlds Crusade, Skitarii formations provided crucial technical support for siege operations against heavily fortified enemy positions, their specialized equipment enabling the systematic reduction of defensive systems that had proven impervious to conventional assault methods. Skitarii Rangers conducted reconnaissance missions that identified critical vulnerabilities in enemy fortifications, while Vanguard formations spearheaded assault operations that exploited these weaknesses through concentrated application of specialized weaponry. The radiation contamination effects created by Skitarii weapons proved particularly effective for denying key terrain to enemy forces while enabling Imperial forces to maintain control over strategic positions. The effectiveness of Skitarii forces against Xenos threats varied significantly depending upon the technological sophistication and tactical doctrines employed by different alien species. Against Orc forces, Skitarii formations found their technological advantages somewhat diminished by the crude but effective nature of Orc equipment, which often continued functioning despite damage that would disable more sophisticated systems. However, the precision and reliability of Skitarii weapons proved highly effective against Orc mob tactics, as their ability to maintain accurate fire during prolonged engagements enabled them to eliminate large numbers of enemy combatants before they could close to effective range. Tau forces presented different challenges for Skitarii tactical doctrine, as the advanced technology employed by the Tau Empire created situations where both sides possessed roughly equivalent technological capabilities. Skitarii formations were forced to rely more heavily on their superior augmentation procedures and battle experience rather than technological superiority alone. The electromagnetic warfare capabilities of arc weaponry proved particularly valuable against Tau drone systems and battle suits, while the radiation resistance of Vanguard formations enabled them to operate effectively within areas contaminated by Tau pulse weapon fire. Eldar opponents created the most complex tactical challenges for Skitarii forces, as the ancient Xenos possessed technology that often exceeded Mechanicus capabilities, while their tactical doctrines emphasized speed and misdirection over direct confrontation. Skitarii commanders learned to counter Eldar mobility through careful positioning and coordinated fire patterns that created overlapping engagement zones where enemy forces could not avoid effective fire regardless of their movement patterns. The predictive capabilities of Skitarii targeting systems proved valuable for engaging fast-moving Eldar units, while the persistent effects of radiation weapons created area denial capabilities that limited Eldar tactical options. The integration of Skitarii forces with Space Marine chapters during joint operations required careful coordination to account for the significant differences in tactical doctrine and operational tempo between the two military organizations. Space Marines typically favored rapid, decisive assault operations that relied upon superior training and equipment to achieve quick victory, while Skitarii formations preferred methodical advance and systematic destruction of enemy capabilities through concentrated firepower. Successful joint operations required commanders who could coordinate these different approaches to create combined arms effects that leveraged the strengths of both force types, while minimizing the tactical limitations inherent in each approach. The dawn of the era Indomitus has brought unprecedented challenges to the forge worlds of the Adeptus Mechanicus, forcing their Skitarii legions to adapt to threats that dwarf even the catastrophic conflicts of previous millennia. The emergence of the Great Rift has severed communication between thousands of forge worlds, creating isolated pockets of Mechanicus territory that must maintain their operations without the technological exchange and mutual support that previously sustained their military capabilities. Skitarii formations across the galaxy find themselves facing not only the traditional enemies of the Imperium, but also new manifestations of chaos corruption, Xenos threats emboldened by Imperial weakness, and the ever-present specter of technological failure in systems stretched beyond their designed operational limits. The warp storms that rage across the galaxy have created communication blackouts that prevent the real-time coordination previously possible between different forge worlds, forcing individual Skitarii commanders to operate with unprecedented autonomy while maintaining adherence to Mechanicus doctrine without direct oversight from higher authorities. Tech dominus leaders must now make strategic decisions that would previously have required consultation with Magos-level commanders or even direct communication with Mars itself. This operational independence has driven innovation in tactical doctrine as local commanders develop solutions to unique threats without the benefit of accumulated experience from other Forge worlds facing similar challenges. Forge worlds located on the wrong side of the Great Rift have experienced particularly severe disruption to their traditional operational patterns, as the complete severance of warp travel to Terra and Mars has eliminated their access to the most sacred standard template constructs and advanced manufacturing specifications that previously guided their production capabilities. Skitarii forces from these isolated Forge worlds have been forced to develop alternative equipment patterns and tactical doctrines based on locally available resources and manufacturing capabilities, creating regional variations in Mechanicus military doctrine that exceed anything seen since the Age of Strife. The adaptation of Skitarii forces to these new operational realities has demonstrated remarkable flexibility within the rigid doctrinal framework that governs Mechanicus military operations. Isolated Forge worlds have established new communication protocols that utilize astropathic transmission and other non-warp communication methods to maintain limited contact with allied territories, while their Skitarii formations have developed enhanced self-sufficiency capabilities that reduce their dependence on external logistics and technical support. These adaptations represent significant departures from orthodox Mechanicus practice, yet they remain within acceptable theological boundaries by emphasizing the sacred duty to preserve knowledge and maintain operational effectiveness despite adverse circumstances. The threat posed by chaos forces has intensified dramatically since the formation of the Great Rift, with demon incursions and corrupted technology presenting challenges that existing Skitarii doctrine was never designed to address effectively. Traditional Mechanicus approaches to technological warfare prove inadequate when facing enemies whose equipment operates according to supernatural principles rather than physical laws, while the corruption effects that emanate from chaos artifacts can compromise the machine spirits that inhabit Skitarii equipment and augmentations. Tech priests have been forced to develop new blessing rituals and purification procedures that provide enhanced protection against demonic influence, while maintaining the technological advantages that define Mechanicus military superiority. The development of specialized anti-chaos protocols for Skitarii operations has required extensive theological research to identify the proper balance between technological advancement and spiritual protection against corrupting influences. These protocols include enhanced screening procedures for equipment and personnel that might have been exposed to chaos corruption, modified maintenance rituals that incorporate additional purification elements, and tactical doctrines that emphasize rapid engagement and withdrawal to minimize exposure to corrupting influences. The implementation of these protocols has created additional logistical burdens for Skitarii operations, while providing essential protection against threats that could compromise entire formations through technological corruption. Tyranid hive fleets have presented evolving challenges that require constant adaptation of Skitarii tactical doctrine, as the Xenos organisms demonstrate their ability to develop biological countermeasures for previously effective Mechanicus weapons and defensive systems. The Great Devourer's consumption of multiple Forge worlds has provided the Tyranid collective consciousness with detailed information about Mechanicus technology and tactics, enabling the development of bioforms specifically designed to counter Skitarii capabilities. These adaptations have forced Mechanicus forces to abandon standardized tactical approaches in favor of constantly evolving doctrines that emphasize unpredictability and technological innovation over the methodical approaches that previously characterized their military operations. The integration of Primaris Space Marine forces with existing Imperial military doctrine has created new opportunities for Skitarii deployment alongside these enhanced Astartes warriors. Despite the significant differences in tactical philosophy and operational tempo between the two military organizations. Primaris Marines possess enhanced physical capabilities and advanced equipment that complement the technological advantages of Skitarii forces, while their tactical doctrine emphasizes aggressive assault operations that can benefit from the precision fire support and specialized equipment that Mechanicus forces provide. The coordination between these forces requires careful planning to account for their different operational requirements while maximizing the combined effectiveness of their distinct capabilities. The Tornus Protocol, established by Belisarius Cawl, has formalized cooperation procedures between Skitarii formations and Primaris Marine forces, creating standardized communication protocols and tactical coordination procedures that enable effective joint operations despite the theological and practical differences between the Adeptus Mechanicus and Adeptus Astartes. These protocols specify the roles and responsibilities of each force type during combined operations, establish command relationships that respect the autonomy of both organizations, and provide logistical frameworks that enable sustained cooperation during extended campaigns. The implementation of the Tornus Protocol has enabled several successful joint operations that demonstrated the enhanced effectiveness possible through proper coordination between Skitarii and Primaris forces. Joint operations between Skitarii and Primaris Marines have revealed tactical synergies that neither force could achieve independently, with Mechanicus technological expertise complementing Astartes' assault capabilities to create combined arms effects that exceed the sum of their individual contributions. Skitarii Rangers provide reconnaissance and target designation capabilities that enable Primaris Marines to execute precision strikes against high-value targets, while Vanguard formations create contaminated approach routes that channel enemy forces into engagement zones where Primaris assault units can achieve maximum effectiveness. The specialized equipment carried by Skitarii forces proves particularly valuable for supporting Primaris operations against technologically sophisticated enemies or in environments where conventional space marine equipment might prove inadequate. The development of new weapon systems and augmentation procedures has accelerated dramatically during the era Indomitus as Forge worlds seek to maintain technological superiority despite the disruption to traditional research and development networks. Isolated Forge worlds have been forced to pursue independent research programs that emphasize practical battlefield effectiveness over theoretical perfection, creating new equipment patterns that reflect local manufacturing capabilities and tactical requirements rather than galaxy-wide standardization. These developments have produced significant innovations in Skitarii equipment and capabilities, while simultaneously creating compatibility issues that complicate joint operations between forces from different Forge worlds. Advanced augmentation procedures developed during the current era emphasize enhanced adaptability and self-sufficiency over the specialized optimization that characterized previous Skitarii modification programs. New neural interface systems provide improved integration between human consciousness and machine systems, while incorporating enhanced security protocols that protect against chaos corruption and Xeno's mental influence. Respiratory and circulatory system replacements offer superior performance across diverse environmental conditions, while reducing maintenance requirements that might prove difficult to satisfy during extended independent operations. These modifications create Skitarii warriors who possess enhanced operational flexibility while maintaining the technological advantages that define Mechanicus military doctrine. Weapon development programs have focused on creating systems that provide enhanced effectiveness against the diverse threats encountered during the era Indomitus, while maintaining the reliability and maintainability essential for operations in isolated territories with limited technical support. New radium weapon variants incorporate improved containment systems that provide enhanced safety for operators while delivering increased contamination effects against enemy forces. Arc weapon technology has evolved to include enhanced electromagnetic pulse capabilities that prove particularly effective against the sophisticated technology employed by Tau forces and corrupted Chaos equipment. Galvanic weapon systems have received targeting system upgrades that improve accuracy and target identification capabilities, while incorporating enhanced resistance to electronic warfare and demon influence. The eternal quest for the Omnissiah's knowledge continues to drive Skitarii operations despite the disruption caused by galaxy-wide conflict and the isolation of many forge worlds from traditional sources of technological information. Explorator fleets accompanied by Skitarii escorts continue to search for standard template constructs and archaeotech artifacts that might provide the technological advantages necessary for survival in the current hostile environment. These missions have become increasingly dangerous as the galaxy's instability has created new threats and empowered existing enemies, yet they remain essential for maintaining the technological superiority that defines Mechanicus military doctrine. Archaeological expeditions protected by Skitarii forces have discovered several significant technological artifacts during the era Indomitus, including previously unknown standard template construct patterns and ancient defensive systems that provide enhanced protection against chaos corruption. These discoveries have enabled the development of new equipment and tactical capabilities that prove particularly effective against current threats, while maintaining compatibility with existing Mechanicus doctrine and technological infrastructure. The integration of these new technologies into Skitarii forces requires extensive testing and theological evaluation to ensure their compatibility with Mechanicus beliefs while maximizing their battlefield effectiveness. The search for the Omnissiah's knowledge has evolved beyond simple artifact recovery to encompass active research and development programs that seek to recreate lost technologies through systematic analysis of existing equipment and theoretical reconstruction of missing components. Skitarii forces provide security for research installations, where tech priests attempt to reverse engineer ancient technologies or develop new systems that provide equivalent capabilities through alternative approaches. These research programs have achieved several significant breakthroughs that enhance Skitarii capabilities while contributing to the broader technological advancement of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The philosophical implications of technological advancement within Mechanicus doctrine have become increasingly complex as forge worlds develop new technologies without direct guidance from Mars or access to the most sacred repositories of technological knowledge. The question of whether locally developed innovations represent legitimate expressions of the Omnissiah's will or dangerous deviations from orthodox doctrine creates theological challenges that influence both research priorities and the practical implementation of new technologies. Skitarii forces equipped with these innovations must operate under modified doctrinal frameworks that balance technological advancement with theological orthodoxy. The evolution of Skitarii forces during the era Indomitus reflects broader changes within the Adeptus Mechanicus as the organization adapts to unprecedented challenges while maintaining its essential character and mission. The enhanced autonomy granted to individual forge worlds and their military forces has created opportunities for innovation and tactical development that might not have emerged under the more centralized control systems that previously characterized Mechanicus operations. These changes have produced Skitarii formations that possess enhanced flexibility and effectiveness while maintaining the technological superiority and doctrinal unity that define their essential nature. The future development of Skitarii forces will likely continue to emphasize adaptability and technological innovation as the primary means of maintaining effectiveness against evolving threats in an increasingly hostile galaxy. The lessons learned during the early years of the era Indomitus have demonstrated both the resilience of Mechanicus military doctrine and the need for continuous evolution to address new challenges that exceed the scope of traditional tactical planning. The balance between innovation and orthodoxy will remain a critical consideration as Skitarii forces continue to serve as the militant arm of humanity's most technologically advanced faction. As the galaxy burns in the fires of endless war and the Great Rift tears reality itself apart, the Skitarii stand as unwavering sentinels of the Omnissiah's will. Their augmented forms march through radioactive wastelands and demon-haunted battlefields with mechanical precision, their faith in the strength of the machine unshaken by the horrors that surround them. In their quest for knowledge and their defense of the Forge worlds, these cyborg warriors represent humanity's technological apotheosis, beings who have transcended the limitations of flesh to become living embodiments of the Mechanicus creed. Whether facing the ravenous swarms of Tyranid hive fleets, the corrupted technologies of chaos, or threats yet unknown, the Skitarii will continue their eternal vigil, their radium carbines ready, their augmetic eyes scanning the horizon for enemies of the machine god. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, and the Skitarii are the Omnissiah's chosen instruments of that war.